My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state.
The entity does this as harassment, waking me up from sleep while they're monitoring, in addition to what is the crime of stalking in the first place, in addition to what is the crime as an entity that is stalking in the sky space as a a corrupt entity that's utilizing commercial planes. This is including the airline industry and the Ontario International Airport and the people of the state, because the government is not gang stalking in planes in the specific environment by itself. Doing so at 2:34 a.m., which an entity is doing with regard to harassing me as I fall asleep, stalking in the expensive manner, utilizing commercial planes. That's not a takeoff. The entity was doing the same thing, stalking, by the way, while I'm in the city of Upland, doing U-turns and flying back southeast. This is an entity that's engaging in the P.O.C, and the ongoing psychopathic behavior is shared by a population that are sharing the pattern of conduct. This is 2:34 a.m. That's the entity that is stalking, and the purpose being harassment, the purpose being psychological torture, because the purpose is not to fly a plane to any destination. And there are no passengers on the plane. There's not even any flights taking off from the taking off from the airport. And there are also no flights from any airport, including Ontario International Airport, where they are hovering over the Ontario Civic Center. This is P.O.C. It's currently 2:35 a.m. It's 5:29 a.m. This is the entity that is stalking as they are monitoring the moment that I wake up. This is the P.O.C. This is the obsession of the entity. The entity engaging in what is an ongoing serenade of the monitoring demons that are subject to martial law, sounding their sirens at 5:19 a.m. And also, should we hear that? Because that's the entity that is stalking by plane to wake me up before my alarm clock does. The entity that's stalking by plane at 2:34 in the morning is engaging what is harassment, waking me up while stalking. The entity that's engaging what is sounding their sirens at 5:19 a.m., stalking with amplified audible activity as a city that's prosecuted for gang stalking, targeting the targeted individual with regard to all means of what is harassment. This is the mentally ill population. These are a bunch of dead people crying out, stalking and harassing, and I'm documenting it because it's relevant to damages that they will be responsible for. It's relevant to the malice and the ongoing intent. It's relevant to the liability of the federal government. It's relevant to this entity that's going to be pleading for mercy, not so much time in federal prison. I didn't mean it. I didn't know that. I actually did. And the entity is engaged in the pattern of conduct on an ongoing ceaseless basis with impunity. The fact that they are demons is how you know that this is an entity that does not have remorse. Okay, that's relevant to the criminals, the threat that they pose, the fact that they are demons. And this is an entity that's engaging in criminal activity in a demonic environment. A fake sun is the evidence of people who are dead. They're walking around and talking and looking like their blood is pumping. They're not on the ground. They're not in need of some sort of machine to help them breathe. They're walking around looking like they're alive. These are demons. And so you're talking about what is subhuman behavior. And they're malicious and cold-blooded, maniacal, psychopathic in what they do. And seeking to exploit the system and claim that they did not have malicious intent, that they did not want to, is literally disproven with my evidence of the ceaseless pattern of conduct. And this is relevant to the liability of that entire entity. It is currently 5:32 a.m. This is the entity that is showing obsession. While they're stalking me right before my alarm clock goes off, they're obsessed with me, and they're obsessed with my vagina is what you're deducing from that. Sex offenders are going to be subject to martial law. While the entity is stalking at 2:34 in the morning, not going anywhere. You just did a lap over the building because you want to affect me in some way. That's the entity that's obsessed with me, and they're obsessed with my vagina. That's what you are deducing from that. The entity that's engaging what is using all manner of vehicles, wasting fuel, wasting time and energy, a whole bunch of people that are together, exerting all that energy toward me and attention toward me, where everybody knows where I'm sleeping and everyone is a demon that's monitoring me in that unconscious state, stalking and harassing together, sounding sirens and ongoing plane activity. Those are the demons that are monitoring me, and they're all obsessed with my vagina. That's the threat that the dead pose. And the dead are gang stalking, and it's the government. This is P.O.C. It's 5:33 a.m. This is P.O.C. This is an entity that is stalking, and that's clearly just an entity that is engaged in stalking in a plane. That's the city hall that they're doing a cartwheel over. There's no airport over here. This is obvious stalking and targeting conduct. The entity's doing so at what is moreover 5:40 a.m. There's no flights coming from an airport engaging in any cartwheels over the city hall. There's no planes coming from the airport that are headed to a destination flying over the top of my head. There's no planes headed coming from an airport, stalking, hovering in Upland, California, and then making a U-turn back toward the city of Ontario. This is the entity that is indeed obsessed with me, and that ongoing obsession is relevant evidence to prosecute the government that has not engaged in or conducted any investigation, nor has under any circumstances had anything to do with the cessation of terrorism that an American citizen is subject to, that a government is mandated, required to stop from occurring. And claiming that you're investigating and permitting terrorism to persist is not the way that you are engaging what is providing justice to an American citizen. The government is being prosecuted. This is by an American citizen, and the very ones that are in a position that would claim that in an ordinary circumstance of criminal activity that they were investigating and to determine this is not that sort of circumstance. The government is the one that is still engaging in targeting, and the government is moreover doing it with the population, and the government is engaging in what is abusing a position even while that American citizen, which is myself, has already proven guilt by the government, which is exactly going to be the case in circumstances regardless of how unfathomable and how impossible it otherwise seems. It's actually what happened, and the government is still engaging in terrorism, not stopping the criminal conduct. And the government's going to be suffering what is prison, just like any other terrorist. There are those that are claiming that they're investigating, those that are in positions of authority, those that are responsible, those that, in other words, would be answering questions, all right, regarding what happened and what were you doing and when this, what stage were you in the process, while the target individual, was publishing evidence that I'm still subject to it, psychologically, physically, in every regard, and they're going to prison for it. This is speaking to the government, the military, the people of the state that have not received any orders to stop engaging and targeting me, and they're going to prison. Not just the demons that are stalking, but the demons that are in a position to engage in what is stopping. You do not persist terrorism to go, you're not investigating it, you're stopping it. And this is what the government has not done. And they've intentionally not done that, because the purpose at the outset was to psychologically torture to the point of what is instability, at least to a degree that the entity could plausibly claim that someone is mentally ill, and that's why you're stealing my money. And it's not viewed as theft. It's viewed as something that is necessary because this person is not well. That's why the government stalks you with the population, that population that is mentally ill. Demons engaging in stalking in planes and walking by as though nothing is happening. This is a corrupt state, a corrupt entity. Okay? Not only is she stalking, but the homeless demon who's going to prison is stalking. He's over here in position while the government's flipping and doing cartwheels in planes, maintaining position with regard to criminal monitoring, presence in the path, cooperative criminal activity, where the fake sun rises as well. He's going to prison. And while they're going to, I want to be clear, the gang stalking churches is sitting by me inside of those venues, engaging in the pattern of conduct is what they're doing while they're sitting there receiving food, sitting next to me, threatening me and harassing like a psychopath that's going to stalk you in your face. They're going to prison. And this one is going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. Systematic, ceaseless, ongoing commitment to stalking, regardless of the consequences, by permission, consent of the entity, the government that is stalking, flying over the city hall at 5:40 in the morning. It's 5:44 a.m. This is the P.O.C. is being prosecuted. There are no scheduled flights. None of them are going to be in Upland, California, and they're certainly not going to be over this Ontario City Hall Senior Center, Senior Citizen Complex. The entity that is engaging in what I document is the entity that's providing evidence as to why officials in federal government amongst the state are going to prison. This is P.O.C. That's audible activity by a demon that's monitoring. That's the government. That's a state actor, okay? This is the P.O.C. Like I stated, these are demons. So you're talking about the entity that is dead, the entity that's entirely malicious and unintelligent. That's the entity that's engaged in criminal activity for which the consequences they are not mindful of. They're more concerned with the obsession with me, as though they're headed toward an objective that they're going to achieve. They're not. I am prosecuting the government in a way that it has never been prosecuted before. Nobody is heading an investigation of you, the government that is gang stalking me. The government that is still targeting is the government that's going to be held accountable. The government is broken down by those that are in positions of authority who will be subject to prison. You're not just going to be removed from position. You're going to prison for an American citizen like myself, subject to the P.O.C. All right, that's the operation of a communication device, breaking down what you're witnessing. It's federal stalking. Operation of the device while the government's engaged in monitoring, presence, all right, which is criminal, okay? It's a crime while the entity is stalking in the parking lot of Wells Fargo. It's a crime while the entity is stalking in the parking garage of downtown Ontario luxury apartments. It's a crime while they are residing inside of the apartment complexes. It's a means of the government being present, stalking in the sky space, using aerial surveillance, stalking in commercial airline planes, which is the prosecution of the airline industry, not just the demon that is using an entire Southwest Airlines plane, for example. This is P.O.C. It is currently 5:46 a.m. on June 24, 2026. This is an entity that's engaging. This is a demon that's hostile, mocking what is Christ Jesus, who's prosecuting, putting him in prison, playing gospel music. That's what Satan does. It's audible activity. This is P.O.C. It's 5:46 a.m. And this is a clear picture of the government's consent, the government's knowledge. And this is the government that's acting with Securitas. She's going to prison. She's monitoring while the entity is flying beyond the apartment complex. I'm at the C Street C Street turn circle, and she's monitoring me. That's Securitas who's going to prison. That's the demon that likes to touch me with impossible light. And then she's going to be in a federal court trying to demonstrate and plead that she's not mentally ill, that she's not maliciously engaged in the conspiracy to murder while the government's flying over the senior citizen apartment complex. And where are they flying? In alignment to where I'm located, doing a U-turn, the same pattern of conduct, okay? This is what they were doing in Upland, California. So connect those videos. Last night during the 7 p.m. hour, they went all the way to Upland, California to do this, and she is stalking, and so is Securitas. Okay, she's gang stalking and she's going to prison for it. And so are her co-defendants, Dylan, the African-American female that changes her hair pieces frequently, that works inside OVITT Family Community Library. So is Leo. So are the kidnappers such as Diana, gang stalking as Securitas employees before 2026. They're all going to prison, okay? And somebody that's gang stalking and is also humiliated, that's a demon that's just waving high like she's on a red carpet. She's on a red carpet headed to prison, while the people are stalking with light, the mentally ill. That's what this is, while the entity's the apartment complex. Remember, while I'm down this hallway, they're doing that over the parking lot. They're coming out this way, stalking me. And this is the entity that is doing so using using commercial planes with 0 passengers on them to stalk me. That's how important I am in Ontario. And that's, in other words, how much the city of Ontario, using Frontier Airlines planes, that's what that is in need of martial law. There will be no airport. They use it to murder people, to stalk them, all right? And they do so as psychopaths that are stalking you with light. And they also sit around salivating and masturbating and engaging in what is stalking and monitoring your genitalia. And then they want you to look at them and be confused and think that they're humans. They're not. These are demons. And these demons make up a government that is not investigating itself. And that's not what the U.S. will do. Claim that you're investigating anything or that you're diagnosing or assessing the mental state of someone that you are gang stalking. You're going to prison for that. This is P.O.C. This is conspicuous stalking on the roads and the highways. License 9 Sam Nancy Xavier 525. This is P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaged in that. You have the Securitas security guard that's also over here at the town square. I've already documented them. The entity is gang stalking by using the roads and the highways, obviously, but Wells Fargo, the demons inside of Sarah's Regis Group, and the entity is engaging, all the foot traffic right now, and it's barely 6 o'clock. It's 6:10 a.m. This is the P.O.C. The entity is inside of the parking garage gang stalking. I'm going to get their license plates. This is called psychopathic pacing. And the psychopaths are going to be documented by license plate right now. This is psychopathic pacing while one plane after another, but it's the same with regard to one vehicle after another. They're pacing all around me. These are the demons that are obsessed with my genitalia. I just want you to see this because this is the evidence of the entity that is indeed a stalker that just did a U-turn that has nothing to do with any flights. There are no flights already published. You'll see the Ontario International Airport has no flights. The first one is at 6:15 a.m. and that's not going to occur over the related company's senior citizen complex. That's Alaska Airlines. This is P.O.C. They're inside of the garage stalking. Movement around the headlights. That's engineer light, not headlights. These are demons that are monitoring. And these are the mentally ill that are engaged in psychopathic pacing. This is P.O.C. 9TXG731. This is the government that's stalking with the people of the state, and the people of the state are going to prison. That's impossible light that's on that gate over there while he is stalking. 8GWS311. And he's a serial stalker. He's a psycho closing that door. That's a demon with a big head. Right? She's in her vehicle engaging in surveillance, stalking with the government. This is a lesbian. Obsessed with my vagina, 9TBD578. This is a demon moving around the engineer light that's on the wall, pacing around in sync with the demons that are in a plane, doing U-turns and flipping over the building. These are stalkers, conspiring murder. You see that light activity? License with a piece of paper over it. All right, DR37T61. This is P.O.C. This is an entity that knows who you are they're targeting, and that evidence is proven through the fake sun. These are not humans. These are the demon possessed. All right, and they're still pacing and stalking because they're in need of martial law and because the government itself, those that are not conducting an investigation, those that are not conducting any court hearings, those that are not going to engage in what is delaying justice, stopping them from engaging in their criminal pattern of conduct, they're going to prison, and so are the demons themselves. P.O.C. This is Sarah's Regis Group that's being federally prosecuted. Their employees are gang stalkers. Every resident is a gang stalker, and the demons that are occupying space inside. That's a third plane right now. He's monitoring still. 8GWS311, license 8ZXA510. And the fake sun documentation is evident at downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments. The entity flies directly over this apartment building while I'm at the ARCO. The entire apartment complex is being prosecuted for federal group stalking monitoring. And that is the impossible light appearing again. It was just gone. Seconds later, it's reappearing. These are demons, and that's demonic. It's impossible light activity. Take a good look at that. That's impossible light activity inside of a parking garage. License plate IBADHLK. And there are also no planes that are scheduled right now from the airport, and it is currently 6:13 a.m. The entity that maintains flights over here in over the Ontario Civic Center is already targeting. That's a judicially noticed fact. And there's no sun that is going to aim any sort of sunlight on any level into this building, onto the walls. They're stalkers, and I just documented demons for you. This is the P.O.C. They're on the roads and the highways stalking. Okay, that's the pattern of conduct, and this is also the crime scene where the fake sun is shining right here over this building after 5 and 6 o'clock, where the entities such as UPS, for example, is hovering and flying right here over this apartment building, where the entity is engaged in the system of criminal monitoring. This is the government's concoction. The government that's also not claiming that you investigated or held a court hearing about anything. What the government is admitting to is the government's admitting to engage in what is ongoing targeting of the one that they're not sacrificing. They did it to the one that has already proven that they're guilty. And because of that, the government is going to compensate me, and the government is also going to be subject to prison. I mean, the very ones that are in positions claiming that you were investigating, you were holding a court hearing, you were looking into this, you were testing that. Those are all admissions to that which they don't have authority to do. You don't have authority to maintain psychological torture tactics and testing an American citizen, claiming that you had this intention. They're going to prison for it. This is P.O.C. It is currently 6:15 a.m. and this is exactly what Jason Fields and the so-called federal government, and doing so while they're targeting with Tracy Banks. These are demons that are guilty. They're murderers. And while they got caught, they are engaging in that ongoing pattern of conduct while engaging in what is duplicitous conduct, still gang stalking and targeting me while also claiming that you want to be holding an investigation and looking, and there's nothing to look into. They know exactly what they're guilty of, and they're still doing it, and they are all going to prison. This is P.O.C. All right, this is the prosecution of Sarah's Regis Group, downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments. This entire crime scene, the fake sun that is here rising, is not aiming any sort of sunlight into the depths of a parking garage onto the wall inside. That's impossible light activity. They're demons. All right, those are all demons. They're walking in it, driving in it, using their devices in it. And this is where the entity is moving that fake sun. That engineer light follows, just like the demons do. They follow. They're stalking me with light. And they're mentally ill. They're stalking me in planes while they're stalking with light. They're stalking me in helicopters while they're stalking with light. They're stalking in the library all day long. That's what you're looking at, demons. This is the P.O.C. That's Robert is subject to federal prison, gang stalking with Page One Cafe. All right, this is the P.O.C. He's parked in the City Hall parking lot where the entity's doing cartwheels when I stay over there by the library. They are coming alignment with where I am at. And that was, again, 3 planes. This is the 4th plane while they're engaging in targeting at the Ontario Civic Center, where they are engaging in that pattern of conduct and stalking, which is prosecuting the City of Ontario, the City of Upland as the mentally ill. And this is the government system that is serving to enforce what is martial law. Okay, that's P.O.C. That's U.S. This is the pattern of conduct. Alrighty, this is the entity that is indeed severely mentally unstable. And you're going to prosecute corporate entities and demons like this. 5 SEY 962 is this conspicuously stalking an American citizen right in their face and furtherance of murdering them. And now they're doing it while their plan, what they plan to do and how they intended to affect an American citizen is not working. And so now you're getting a breakdown of that system. And those that are in positions, those that are in the military, those that are engaging in holding court hearings, you have admittedly engaged in gang stalking. You're going to federal prison. Whether or not you realize that when you held a court hearing and I was outside being gang stalked by planes and helicopters on behalf of the government that you have not told to stop targeting me. You are in direct control of that. And that is the malicious pattern of conduct. This is the P.O.C. Your position versus the tangible evidence speaking to a pattern of conduct, which in fact exists, is not going to compete with that evidence. You're going to prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently 6:17 a.m. at the OVITT Family Community Library. The employees at OVITT are going to federal prison. They're all going to prison. This is the entity that's engaged in psychopathic behavior. This is exceeding stalking. Now, they're stalking because they're following everywhere that I go. But to do so when United Airlines, Frontier Airlines, and the Southwest Airlines, all the planes that I'm documenting this morning, that, in other words, one after another, that's the psychopathic behavior that's exceeding stalking. This is beyond stalking. Okay? These are demons that are mentally ill, and they have sacrificed themselves. I just want to be clear, Tracy Banks, Jason Fields in particular, these gang stalking organizers and leaders. Tracy Banks has on camera already committed what is a serious violation of the law, and she's going to federal prison for coming into my presence while gang stalking with the U.S. military, doing so in furtherance of murdering me. And that is including while I was in her apartment. But after I separated myself for my protection, and she goes out of her way to come and gang stalk me at the bus stop at 537 North Euclid Avenue, gang stalking me as I am inside of the OVITT Family Community Library on multiple occasions, when I have not communicated with her, not told her anything, not requested anything, and she is the one that is coming and approaching me while I am outside documenting the entity stalking me at the Starbucks. And the reason why she knows where I'm at, because she's a monitoring spirit. She's a demon conspiring my murder with this very entity. She is the entity. She's going to prison for that. And it's the same with Jason Fields, her co-conspirator. I just want to be clear on that. These are gang stalkers. It's the same with Eric Spencer. He's at this town square during the 1 p.m. hour in the middle of the afternoon. He's going to federal prison. He is the same entity. They engaged in kidnapping. They engaged in criminal summoning. They engaged in criminal defamation. And so did Jason Fields. While he has sex with Tracy at night, and Tracy gets up and gang stalks me conspicuously during the day, Jason Fields is going to prison. And were he to ever physically come into my presence, he's going to prison for the same impunity. Psychopaths that are engaging in what is plotting your murder, but they just think that you don't know that because of the gang stalking system. That's already known. So now you are stalking someone, and then you're in their face conversing with them like you're not. The only person that's crazy and delusional are them. This is P.O.C. This is psychopathic pacing. Jason Fields does this, he's going to prison longer. 8TNX 109. License plate. They're all stalkers. License plate. 9BTG 977. They're all stalking with the government. Jason Fields does any of this. He comes around, says anything to me in my presence, he's going to prison longer. License 5CQY 189. And this is the military that has the people of the state stalking, because that's what you're doing in the environment. They're in a parking garage stalking right now. You need to understand how psychotic they are. That is Tracy Banks. That is the City of Ontario employees surrounding with regard to stalking. Okay? Doing so under a fake sun. And doing so now because you're frustrated that you're not getting your money back. In fact, you're going to pay me. And not only that, you're going to be exposed worldwide for what you committed against me, which the world knows you've done multiple times for decades against other American citizens and those across the globe. To continuously engage in targeting me in this psychopathic manner, expose the ability of Frontier Airlines, United Airlines, Delta Airlines, Southwest Airlines that are stalking me by virtue of the military using those in a psychopathic manner. Not just the fact that you're stalking, but look at the way that they do it. One plane after another, after another, after another, after another. Like they are literally chasing me as I move around. This is the demons that are in a parking garage in a ridiculous circus environment in the interior light. These are demons. They're psychotic. That's not sunlight. That is not sunlight. There are stalkers in here. They're all stalkers. They're monitoring. The entity that's engaging in that is the one that's going to be held responsible under the law civilly and criminally in ways in which they have not contemplated because they've never been proven and prosecuted before. License plate 9 Nancy Paul 226. This is P.O.C. pacing with the demon on the bike. Okay. This is Metro 102 related company senior citizen apartment complex at the 280 North Lemon Apartments, OVITT Family Community Library, Ontario Senior Center, Ontario City Hall, University of Laverne, University of Laverne, the law school. And this is Sarah's Regis Group, downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments. This is Wells Fargo, 240 North Euclid Avenue. You have the Mule Car Smokehouse. You have the Ontario Fire Department, the Ontario Town Square Townhomes. This is the entity that's engaging in the P.O.C. And this is the relevant positioning because I'm prosecuting everything, all of it at the same time. Okay, this entity is going to be defunded and you're being prosecuted regardless of business hours. That's why they're sitting outside. That's why they're flying over. That's why they're maintaining presence in relevant positions surrounding. There is no police department that has authority under the law. And because the Ontario police who are demon stalking have done so, they're being disbanded. They're being prosecuted. And the federal government, you're going to prison for the city police stalking me. That's how you are being held accountable for engaging in terrorism via the states. You are not conducting an investigation. You are not conducting an investigation of your criminal activity that I prove you are guilty of. You are still targeting, and you, whose specific identity is not remaining a mystery, targeting with people like Jason Fields, you're going to prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently 6:23 a.m. This is equally psychopathic pacing. They're doing the same thing. They're dumb enough to use commercial planes, multi-million-dollar companies that I'm going to literally exhaust financially of national security that they cease to exist as companies. Martial law. California's not flying anywhere. You're talking about John Wayne, Los Angeles International, Cable Airport, San Bernardino International, Ontario International, shutting down these airports that are engaged in this surveillance system, and they murder people. That's how 9/11 happened. These demons, the U.S. military that go on suicide missions. That's how that happened. This is P.O.C. It is currently 6:23 a.m. This is the stalker that's following. It's the prosecution of the state. While the U.S. military is still gang stalking on another day, every license plate that I get is a means of exposing specifically an entity that is engaged in what is targeting obsessively. And they are doing so with the consent as gang stalking shall be prosecuted. It is the government's criminal system, the government's criminal activity, and these are demons moreover. And they have not received an order from the government to stop targeting, and the government is being prosecuted for it. The government is not going to be relieved of liability because they're claiming that they held a court hearing, that they claim that they were investigating something. They are witnessing themselves being investigated. You're going to be held responsible under the facts and the information that I have provided prosecuting you. 9ZBC 319. This is P.O.C. This is all impossible light activity that's not shooting into the depths of a parking garage horizontally. That's impossible light activity while you have what is the impossible. How can you be so psychotic, so stupid? Because they're demons. That's why. All right. This is that move from the opposite side. Remember, when I'm on the opposite side of the library, it's over there. It's moving as I move. They're stalkers. This is the stalker society. Here's my shadow back here. Here's my shadow right here. This is the apartment building that they're flying over in the middle of the afternoon when I come from Bethel on Sunday afternoons. And the fake sun is right here over my head on this sidewalk. And the demons are flying over this apartment complex. That's where they're stalking. The government is being prosecuted for its system. The government is still engaging in that system, and the government is being prosecuted for it. Government actors. P.O.C. It is currently 6:25 a.m. The entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct, and they're doing so while they are being exposed worldwide. That's a psychopath engaging in a U-turn. While I have two shadows on both sides of my person, impossible light activity. While they're stalking inside of a parking garage. While license 9 Zebra Bob Charlie 319 is sitting around stalking somewhere parked over here so they can get back in their vehicle. They're keeping me under surveillance right now. And so is the entity. The entire airline industry is being prosecuted for surveillance with the government. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, this is the entity that's conceding. The police don't have authority. So while you're stalking me, every single last one of them are going to prison. Every single last one that I documented. And those that are in the military that are in positions of authority, that's what you're understanding. Those that are claiming you're not investigating anything and you don't have authority to do that, I'm being gang stalked and you're going to prison for it. It's terrorism, not merely negligence. It's not negligence, it's intentional and malicious, and you're being held responsible for it. This is P.O.C. Stalking, driving in the engineer light. All that impossible light activity, they're driving in, stalking, monitoring the entire apartment. This is how an establishment is being prosecuted, as stalking with the government. P.O.C. It is 6:26 a.m. under the fake sun. This is downtown Ontario, luxury apartments. This license plate, I'm going to go ahead and get this in this video because this is going on the podcast as well. License 47542 George 4. This is the entity that is stalking, pacing back and forth. They're driving in the engineer light. That's Ontario Montclair School District. Sex offenders, stalkers. 1497520, and with her, this demon walking, they're pacing, and the fake sun is moving as I move. Okay, that's the pattern of conduct. Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments is not private property. It's a facilitating venue where the system is underway. The ignition is running. These are stalkers. They're monitoring. 47542 G4. They're monitoring while the entity is flying in U-turns over the apartment complex. They're gang stalking. P.O.C. Gang stalking. Driving an engine at my shadows in front of me and behind me. They're gang stalking. This is an apartment complex. I want you to see the address because I'm prosecuting Saris Regis Group. P.O.C. This is where they're at stalking. And the fake sun is here in the You're monitoring. It's all criminal presence. And any immigrants they're being deported. This is how the entire state's being deported. This is P.O.C. All immigrants are being deported. That is the pattern of conduct. That's the pattern of conduct. They're flying over the OVITT Family Community Library. That's P.O.C. That's all impossible light activity. Alrighty, engage in that. So this is exposing what is public corruption. And these are demons that keep their back to you while they are very much masturbating, monitoring your vagina, stalking you in bathrooms, going into rooms adjacent to you, stalking you in the path, while the entity is stalking in the way in which you see with planes and helicopters. Those are the demon possessed. And they're mentally ill. It's going to be prosecuted. This environment is relevant and it is exposing malice and it's exposing mental illness disorder by the entity. And the federal government is still gang stalking on another day. And the federal government, those that are in positions of authority that did not make the decision to stop targeting, that think that you're going to keep gang stalking and then you're just going to give me a check or something, or I'm just going to miraculously get money and the problem's going away, you are sadly mistaken. You're going to prison. You're going to federal prison, and Jason Fields is not going to prison by himself. This is P.O.C. It's currently 6:29 a.m. Alrighty, at 6:58 p.m. That is at 18:58 p.m. Yesterday, June 23rd, 2026, is where you will be able to view the video of the military stalking in a black helicopter. The military doing so with the people of the state. Just like they are now, stalking in the path. You'll see the image that I take right now at 6:48 a.m. The entity is stuck. She's walking next to the engineer light on the ground. This is a demon engaging in what is that ongoing casual gang stalking conduct as a corrupt society, as demons that are monitoring. In operation of her device while the entity is doing U-turns, flying, stalking in a commercial plane. This is the City of Ontario gang stalking with the military. And I'm documenting yesterday on video, June 23rd, 2026 at 18:58. That's 6:58 p.m. And it's on the playlist. Well, actually, no, it is on my website. This is the P.O.C.wordpress.com for June 23rd. Okay. I published the videos on YouTube to put it in a palatable, organized manner for you to understand, and chronologically with regard to the criminal acts that the government is engaging in moment by moment, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. And that's why it's in that order. And I am publishing that in order. Everything is published on the website. This is the P.O.C.wordpress.com under the documentation tab for June 23rd, 2026, where you will see the entity stalking by helicopter and Union Pacific on a Metrolink train line, doing so in sync with the government that is targeting me in Upland, California. And then the entity that is stalking by flying over the senior citizen complex is stalking in Upland, California with these same commercial planes, and doing so while I am capturing this pattern of conduct. All right, so this is where they're going all the way to Upland stalking, which is speaking to the city of Ontario that is indeed a stalker. Okay, the entities engaged in this, that's speaking to the military, that is indeed a stalker, and the one that is over the military that has been engaged in targeting for decades. I am prosecuting you now, and you are being federally prosecuted regardless of your cult membership deteriorating. You are a terrorist leader, as you would describe Osama bin Laden, and your terrorist regime is being federally prosecuted while I'm being stalked by helicopters and commercial planes, regardless of your cult membership deteriorating and them turning and providing evidence against you. You are being prosecuted. You are not investigating anything. You are not in any position to diagnose anyone or use any of your own criminal activity to assess the psychological status of somebody that you are gang stalking. In fact, any deterioration that an American citizen is actually experiencing is a product of your criminal conduct, because you are a maniacal psychopath that's obsessed with their genitalia. You have totally been stripped of that position, and you are, in fact, under the law, a terrorist leader. You being in position over the military that is gang stalking are a terrorist leader that is being subject to a prosecution. That is being led by that American citizen that you're gang stalking. You don't have that position of authority. You are very hard pressed to understand that. But that is what is happening. You're not in that position. You're going to prison. That's why your cult members are still stalking in planes, and they're dummies stalking me in this obvious manner. You, sir, madam, whoever you are, I know you're a vagina monitor and you're going to prison. You're a terrorist leader, just like Osama bin Laden over that regime. You are, in America, a terrorist leader, and you are going to prison. Okay, you are going to prison over any department, just like Mike LORENZ over the Ontario Police Department, just like Marcelo Blanco over the Upland Police Department, just like Darren Goodman formerly over the Upland Police Department, now over the gang stalkers of the San Bernardino Police Department. You are going to prison, just like Jason Reed, a terrorist leader over the Montclair Police Department. Dominic Choi, when I'm documenting in 2024, over the Los Angeles Police Department. You are a terrorist leader. There's no anonymity. I'm documenting you in case you did not gather that. You have an illusion regarding anonymity. There's nothing anonymous about you. You're going to prison. You're a terrorist leader. You are responsible for this criminal conduct, and you're going to prison for it. This is P.O.C. at 6:52 a.m. All right, the entity is pacing around, and they're monitoring on my phone. So this is the entity. I just want to be clear. The long-term cult members, these are literally people that are not humans. The demons that are, for example, in positions of leadership authority over the military, that's a bunch of demon-possessed gang stalkers, violent sex offenders, serial killers that are sanctioned by the government under the guise of serving America's interests, go around murdering people, and even murder people and then create a narrative to make up a excuse as to why they killed people in another country or what's actually happening by the military in the U.S. All the ways in which the entity is engaging in this very corruption that I'm exposing. These are not people. These are demons. These are people that they're nothing but zombies. They're bots, and I'm prosecuting them. This is someone that is, I don't want to say someone, those that are in the position over the military, these are exceedingly wicked, entirely possessed vessels of Satan who are violent criminals, and I'm prosecuting them. Their mental illness is going to serve for putting the leader over the military branches that are gang stalking me in prison, in mental institutions in particular. They are engaging in psychotic behavior while the entity itself is engaging in their pattern of conduct. The terrorist leader himself is the one that embodies that mental illness. That is the reason the creator of what is this criminal system in its existence, in its execution, and that ongoing maniacal obsession, that inability to cease engaging in that which you have, regardless of whether you can accept it or not, or realize it or understand it and make sense of it, whether or not you can face it or not. I prosecuted you, and I prosecuted you at a distance. In the same way that you are violating my vagina at a distance, keeping it under surveillance and stalking me at a distance, and I don't know your name and I don't see you, nor do I have to. I don't have to see you. The evidence of what the military is doing is all over the internet.
And it's also going to be a matter of who is responsible for a pattern of conduct. That is a terrorist leader, the very one that's over that department. Just like Mike Lorenz, you're not different at all. In fact, it's literally the pattern of conduct. It's occurring because you are in that position. You are not ignorant, nor are you reasonably ignorant. You're all demons, and the demons are losing their position. You're a terrorist leader over the Army. You're a terrorist leader over the Air Force. You're a terrorist leader over the Marine Corps, those demons that are gang stalking me, because you know exactly who I am. You know exactly who I am. You're all demons. And your satanic leader is going to prison. The one that's sending little puppets, peer pressuring him into homosexuality, people like Jason Fields that doesn't have a mind of his own. He's going to prison, and so is his leader, the one that is over the military. I don't have to know your name. I'm prosecuting you right now. Your name and identity is already known. It's already known. You are going to prison. Whoever you are, you're going to prison. And there's no getting out of your position saying, oh, that wasn't me and I wasn't that and I didn't know. You're going to federal prison. You are responsible, just like the entity is responsible for the crime rate. Oh, well, turns out it's a gang stalking city. The crime rate is because of the demons that are engaging in the pattern of conduct, which the gang stalking police share in. In other words, they're just keeping themselves employed while you, the U.S. military, are engaging in surveillance. As a terrorist leader, literally the Air Force, the military itself is the terrorist leader over the states that are engaging in the U.S. government's criminal pattern of conduct. I want the body, the demon that is over, those demons that are over the military, you are the ones going to prison. You're the ones that serve Satan so faithfully, and you're going to serve time in prison for it. Since you don't know when to stop, you will be forced to stop, because this is the policy to prosecute any terrorist regime that an American citizen is subject to in the United States, because it's the military, it's the government, it's the federal government, and you are leading in that. And so just as also to be clear, where you are a part of any sort of corrupt department that's engaging in terrorism, you need to be prepared, because you're going to be responsible under the law while you're a part of that gang. You're talking about the entity that's engaging in what is murdering people and kidnapping them, abusing their positions, and then also falsely depicting their character as though an American citizen is just imagining it, and I'm not responsible for anything because they're crazy. That is not a defense, and you're going to prison for that. It's called criminal defamation. The entities engaging in this, and you are engaging in what is gang conduct, gang violence. It's terrorism. All right. And you are going to be prosecuted as a terrorist leader. So when you're the manager over a gang stalking department, you're responsible for it. It doesn't matter the hire date. The person before you will be prosecuted because you're not retiring or quitting or resigning out of a prosecution for terrorism. You are going as a terrorist leader. That's how gang violence is prosecuted. These are the repercussions of engaging in what is surveillance as a government system. And it is justice. And you're not sending in any a newbie anyway that's not engaging in this criminal system. And I have shown by evidence that it is within a pattern of conduct. Any person that's holding that position is engaging in it. They're not getting in that position but for engaging in that pattern of conduct. And the evidence shows that it is ceaselessly underway. The environment's not going anywhere. The gang stalking is not stopping, and you are going to be held responsible. It is legally irrelevant to claim, oh, I didn't know anything about that, and I just got hired 2 weeks ago, and I don't know anything, and I didn't give any, or you're going to prison. You're going to federal prison. This is how that system operates, and my evidence breaks that down. And it is so corrupt, it's down to the demons that don't even have anywhere to sleep outside who are stalking with the government. And you're going to prison. You are going to prison for it as a terrorist leader in the United States. If you think meeting with the president is going to shield you, if you think the president has the authority to pardon you, you are mistaken. You're going to prison. This is P.O.C. It is 6:59 a.m. This is understanding the policy of where a government really believes that they are impervious to and they are above suspicion, and that they are under any circumstances evading consequences for criminal conduct, gross criminal conduct. And there is no mystery here. Literally, you're talking about the heads of the departments that are engaging in the P.O.C. The heads of the department, the head of the military. You know who the commander-in-chief is. I just want to be clear, those that are engaging in the pattern of conduct, you are engaging in the pattern of conduct with regard to being terrorist leaders.
And my evidence is placing you at the crime scene by virtue of your position, by virtue of the pattern of conduct that military, that law enforcement agency, that department store, that grocery store is engaging in. You are going to be liable for the gang violence that you are leading in. And that is the proof of the pattern of conduct is what is putting you in prison. I just so that you can break that down, because you're talking about what is the evidence that's already proven you guilty. So I'm just helping you logically understand what has already happened to you while you are still stalking and you think no one sees you. Everyone can literally do a Google search and find out who is the leader, who is leading over the military, who is in other words, the terrorist leader is the term that you're going to apply under the law. The one that is over the military, the highest position, the so-called leader that glories and is paid this and is given all this trust and is treated as though, no, that's the one that's going to prison. They're the terrorist leader. They are engaging in the pattern of conduct by virtue of their position of authority where this corruption is underway. They are the reason for it occurring. Just like Paul Leon in the city of Ontario. This is why I have stalkers of the city police gang stalking me. And they're doing so because you are in position. You are going to prison. The military is not the actual military. And since you're engaged in terrorism, the terrorist leaders are being put where they belong, which is in cells, hopefully filled with feces. Okay? Because this is the type of humbling that you need. This is P.O.C. It's currently 7:01 a.m. And the entity is stalking through the U.S. military, and all branches are engaging in that pattern of conduct. And this is terrorism that is domestic in the United States. And the commander-in-chief is not ignorant about the military engaging in terrorism. I am prosecuting the very actors themselves. I just want to be clear on that, but I want to be clear. The current commander-in-chief is merely one that is holding the position, and his predecessor and the one before that are engaged in the same position of authority, where the military are merely engaging in that which they are authorized to do in the U.S., which is engaging in terrorism. And you need to know that you are putting people in office that are absurdly mentally ill. They're demons. They are demons that are over a system that is mentally ill and deranged in all of its tactics, in the way in which it even operates. As someone as sane and collected as myself, systematically documents and points out everything that they're doing. The demons that are already psychotic, they go berserk, which you are even witnessing as they have more and more and more and more and more plane activity and more and more and more and more traffic. This is stalking in that environment. This is not traffic. And it has nothing to do with air traffic from the airport either. This is speaking to the entity that is so hostile and aggressive. They would like to put physical hands on me. This is why you have demons that don't know me, that aren't gang stalking, but yet you're running toward me with a knife on your hand because you're triggered as I document you and I call you out as the demon that you are in the middle of the night because you're obsessed with me, going out of your way to walk all the way around while I'm on the side instead of minding your business and walking like every other normal person that's not gang stalking with you. This is an entity that's triggered because of the truth that I speak. And you are sitting in a position of leadership over the Army, over the Air Force, over the Marine Corps. You are the ones that are going to prison. You're not retiring from the with a lifetime of benefits and protecting your family with that. You're not going to have any sort of Purple Heart. You're going to prison. You're terrorist leaders. That's why the military is stalking me with the city of Ontario. That's why the military is in Upland stalking me. You are going to prison. And there's no amount of plane activity that's going to drown out how this policy is formulated. I hope you understand that. Because you're being delusional is never stopping your prosecution. That's what you mentally ill demons cannot seem to accept. Stalking with train activity and getting louder and louder because you don't like the truth that I speak, because you don't like what you are going to be subject to as I have the authority and you do not. Stalking me on an ongoing basis instead of running me my money a long time ago, that's just made it worse for you. You're going to prison. You're called a terrorist leader. You are going to prison, but literally by definition, and the pattern of conduct has already prosecuted you. You are absolutely engaging in the pattern of conduct, leading in it, while that branch of military is engaging in it, under your leadership, with your knowledge, that is. P.O.C. It is currently 7:04 a.m. The entity is stalking by Alaska Airlines that is hovering over the related company's senior citizen complex at 7:04 a.m., which I just took an image of for you to see. You can hear it, but I provide visuals as well. And the entity is doing so while at 7:04 a.m. the entity has no published flights. This is Alaska Airlines that has a flight scheduled today, coming from flight number AS 345 going to Portland from gate 211, and at 7 a.m. This is an entity that has not conducted any takeoff. At 4 minutes later, hovering over the related company senior citizen apartment complex, where also the fake sun is present over me, where Securitas is a demon and a demonic company gang stalking with the military and the people of the state, who are all zombies pacing all around me while they're listening to me formulate policy to put the demon possessed in the United States in federal prison for seeking to sacrifice American citizens. That is, under the law, conspiring their murder and stalking them as an entity, engaging in what is domestic terrorism. They're going to prison. Alaska Airlines is gang stalking as well. I just took a picture of that, and that's not the 7 a.m. flight that's headed to Portland. You're not headed to Portland over the related company's senior citizen complex, okay? This is the P.O.C. That evidence is provided for you on the share drive. And everybody that's outside walking, they're all a bunch of demons that are stalking together with the military. And the leaders of the military branches are the ones that are going to prison. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, this is the entity that's engaged in that pattern of conduct. While the entity is making U-turns, I just want you to see that ongoing you'll see the faces of the demons. You'll see the entity stalking, doing U-turns over the parking lot. This is what I'm taking pictures of right now. None of this has anything to do with the published flights. That's a shutdown of the Ontario International Airport. That is engaged in the pattern of conduct with the U.S. military. And those sitting in positions of authority over the military branches are going to prison. They are terrorist leaders, as it is recognized and proven in the U.S. While the U.S. system of terrorism is exposed, and you are looking at the way in which they are operating a system of targeting American citizens, terrorizing them. And they do so under the malicious guise of being leaders in position over law enforcement agencies, over the military branches. They do so under the corrupt leadership of the commander-in-chief himself. You know who his name is. But he's not by himself, because that office is serving for terrorism in the U.S. The commander-in-chief before him was engaging in the same system while this same criminal pattern of conduct was underway. I was being gang stalked when Barack Obama was in office. I was being gang stalked when Bill Clinton was in office. I was being gang stalked when Bush was in office. Those that are in position over the military branches are terrorist leaders, and you're going to federal prison for this criminal pattern of conduct that you are still engaging in. You are not conducting any court hearings. You're not conducting any investigation while you have been prosecuted by an American citizen that you thought was going to be dead or at least be a vegetable somewhere. You're going to federal prison because of the criminal pattern of conduct that you are engaging in while your minions are outside failing to exercise any self-control because they are in fact psychopathic. Your own mental illness, your own demon possession is now working against you. And you, in a position of authority, you're the one going to prison for it. You know exactly who I'm talking to, because you're in that position listening to how serious my tone of voice is, because that's how serious you're going to prison. You are going to federal prison. You're a terrorist by definition. It's occurring because you are in a position of leadership overseeing it. You're going to prison for it. This is P.O.C. It is currently 7:08 a.m. This is the entity that is gang stalking and monitoring on my device and doing so while I am uploading. And they're doing so while I already took a screenshot. So you're talking about flights at 6:10, flight at 6:20, a flight at 6:30, 2 flights at 7 a.m., one flight at 7:05 a.m. No other flights published departing from the airport until 8 a.m. The entity, the military, is stalking one plane after another, approximately every 90 seconds. And also when they're triggered by something that I described, such as terrorist leaders that are over the military branches who are going to federal prison for the system of gang stalking, which is terrorism that is executed by the military in the United States under the corrupt leadership of the commander-in-chief himself, who is not ignorant. Like I stated, you're not ignorant about what is going on under your leadership. This is exposing all those who are corrupt. It is exposing the United States. This is the P.O.C. You are going to prison. I'm being gang stalked. You're going to prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently 7:09 a.m. All right, this is impulsive light activity, number one. This is stalking, and this is stalking.
And it's also the evidence of mental instability. This is literally a demon-possessed person, and this is an entity representing the geezers, the elderly that can't even walk on their own with edema. They rely on medication, that they need the military, that they're gang stalking with to pay for their housing and all that. These are demons. That's why they're being described in this unapologetic manner. These are vagina monitors, and so is the city of Ontario, okay? Now, the fake sun is over me at this same venue where Kevin is engaging in a battery under the same fake sun that's over me. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 7 hours from now, Kevin's going to prison. And Kevin is gang stalking just like the city of Ontario, his co-defendants, his co-workers are right now. This is the stalker over here in the park that's engaging in the pattern of conduct, stalking with the utility vehicle, looking at the grass, pull out a chainsaw, pull out a shovel, pull out whatever you want because it's gang stalking. He's stalking. And this is an establishment, the city hall. It's an identification of the government that is stalking as well. The fake sun is still here in the morning, in the afternoon, and the entity is stalking the military flying over my head at this city hall, which is evidence of the entity that is a bunch of gang stalking demons. Satan doesn't have an age. Satan has vessels of all ages and races, and there's vagina monitors that are even going into the city hall to engage in stalking me. This is the obsessed population. Gang stalking with the city of Ontario, license plate 8 Mary Jerry Xavier 155. This is again an overweight Latina female that's engaged in the pattern of conduct, and I want you to see the fake sun. This video is about impossible light activity, showing you all the demon possessed that are engaging in criminal conduct. You see how the fake sun is so low and it's covered up, but at the same time you have what is supposed to be sunlight that's touching the building, right? Touching the glass. This is where impossible light is reaching underneath. You saw this morning on inside of the parking garage of Sarah's Regis Group, where they were gang stalking, including the military, the mentally ill, the psychopaths that are going to be putting their own superiors in prison. All right. The gang leaders over the military are going to federal prison, just like the gang leaders over the law enforcement agencies that are gang stalking me, kidnapping, doing so with the military, they're going to prison. All right. This is the P.O.C. and this is impossible light activity. It is not explained away by what is an enduring fake sun, a fake sun that's not going to create this angle of light that's then supposedly reflecting off and creating what is your shadow. This is the ongoing obsession with stalking with light. And in that environment, you have presence, which is accomplishing monitoring, gang stalking. Gang stalking is state action. Gang stalking is what the military is engaging in with the population of stalkers that keep your genitalia under surveillance, go inside of bathroom stalls and stalk you, and do so under the guise of not talking to you, not addressing you, not knowing you. They know exactly what's going on. They know when you're on your period. They know when you're not on your. They know if you're using pads. They know if you're using tampons. They know if you are, if you have diarrhea. They know if you have digestive issues regarding the food that they poison. They're sitting up monitoring you, and stalking with light is a federal offense. And it is the government's criminal activity, the same government that's flying over the city hall. And that is inexplicable, directly relevant criminal activity by the city of Ontario, conspiring murder in the irreconcilable environment where sunlight is never going to be produced. This is not sunlight. It's engineered light. It's the impossible light activity evident for criminal monitoring underway by the government. This is pacing while you see these demons using they're actually pacing. That's literally what's going on. And this is impossible light activity that has nothing to do with this light activity here. These are demons, and this is a demonic environment. This is P.O.C. It's impossible light. All right. If this impossible light, I just want to be clear, is appearing in the shade. And this same crime scene where, by the way, Kevin is committing a battery, just to give you an example of the criminals of the city of Ontario, engaging in what is a battery because he's a documented demon. And walking in the engineer light is the federal offense. This is the P.O.C. and the supernatural, and they sit around acting like nothing's happening. They're going to be committed. All right, this is the pattern of conduct by demons that are monitoring you in plain under the fake sun in plain view, doing so while you're engaging in what is in that environment. You're recognizing that crime scene, and you're not going to be treated differently because you're a geezer that's demon possessed. You're not going to be treated differently because you are in the custody of minor children or because you have some physical handicap. We also know you have a mental handicap. You're a psychopath. You're a sex offender. You're a stalker, and you do so as a population. And the government is welcoming felons to go inside gang stalking inside. They're going inside of the city hall to cross path with me. This is the entity that's engaging in criminal activity. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 7:57 a.m. And what I'm exposing about the Ontario City Hall is letting you know about every city hall in the state of California. It is a template. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 7:57 a.m. where impossible light activity is the evidence of what none of the demons have to speak of. You're going to prosecute them, and I'm prosecuting the leaders, the terrorist leaders, over the military branches that are gang stalking me. This is P.O.C. It is currently 7:58 a.m. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. This is the same Latino male that's engaged in battery as an entity with Kevin, it appears. But nonetheless, this is the city of Ontario. I want to document there. First of all, this is the pattern, the psychopathic pattern of stalking with peculiarized light under the fake sun. This is what Securitas is doing. She's pacing all around. And under the fakes, the city of Ontario is engaged in a battery during the 2 p.m. hour. It's currently 8. This is where Kevin commits a battery while he's stalking with light, and he sprays me with chemicals, and he's engaging what is threatening me with the City of Ontario employees and Securitas. That's under the same fake sun that's here 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 6 hours from now. While they cross path, they're monitoring as I'm logging on to Instagram on the internet. And this is a demon, and this is demonic activity, which is relevant to the military's pattern of conduct. He's a psychopath stalking, keeping his back like he's doing something else. It's the pattern of conduct. Impossible light swipes all across me while he uses this vehicle as a means of gang stalking. And this is, again, his co-defendant, Kevin, is stalking me. The City of Ontario is doing so while I'm here at the same location after 2 p.m., which is on video, and that's the entity that's doing so pursuant to what are judicially noted facts, where the military is stalking, and they're doing so with the City of Ontario. This is P.O.C. That's license 1476525, standing exactly where the entity is standing, monitoring and harassing me and engaging in what is violence while I document them as demons, engaging in their psychopathic pattern of conduct, which is pursuant to surveillance via their communication devices and on my on communication device. This is the entity that's engaging in that this morning. It is currently 8:47 a.m. The entity is engaging in what is targeting me with impossible light, doing so under the fake sun that also sets here, and this is where the City of Ontario committed battery together. That's what the state actor Kevin committed. All right, so he's gang stalking. This is the same entity. I'm referring to that one that engaged in that act of violence as an entity of hostile demons who are stalking me under the fake sun and stalking with the possible light while they're monitoring what I'm uploading. The entity tampering with my passwords on Facebook. This is the entity that's engaging what is deleting my descriptions on the YouTube videos. This is the entity that's engaging in what is tampering with evidence. That's why she's going to prison, and there's no defense for it. This is the entity that's engaging in what is molesting with impossible light while I'm changing my passwords that they have tampered with after I change them. That's why Kevin that's committing battery is going to prison. That's why the gang stalkers of the dumpster trucks that are stalking me on Euclid Avenue under the fake sun, that's still sitting here and it's going to stay here because I don't go up to Upland today, that's why they're going to prison. There's no defense, and the entity does not have any excuses with regard to what are the penalties for the criminal system that the government, the military, the terrorist leaders that are over the military gang stalking me, they're going to prison, and this evidence is securing that result. This is P.O.C. It is currently 8:48 a.m. where they're engaged in federal stalking via communication devices by the light activity, by presence, the audible noise. This is pacing by the entity under the fake sun that remains here while the entity is engaged in psychopathic pacing by planes. They are engaged in surveillance on my device. This is P.O.C. City of Ontario that is gang stalking, and that is specifically Delta Airlines that's gang stalking, engaged in the criminal conspiracy as a corporate entity, targeting with the people of the state, the demon with their back and this demon facing, they're pacing together. They are together under the fake sun while the City of Ontario wants to be as close as possible. How is an entity stalking you, maintaining the light activity under the fake sun, watering the grass? This is like the dancers that are stalking in the path after 1 o'clock where you're looking at a stalker, which is the City of Ontario. This is the entity that is targeting with the U.S. military. This is the co-conspirator of murder. And this is the entity that is gang stalking by maintaining light activity, which his co-defendant Kevin is doing at 2 p.m. while this fake sun is still over me. He is monitoring right now on my device, on the venue of the internet, where this entity is tampering with my devices with regard to my Instagram password, for example, that is perfectly correct, but the entity is capable of monitoring on your device so that it is showing you and blocking you from entrance when your password, your information is perfectly fine. This is occurring in the under the fake sun where demons are stalking you conspicuously, which is what the City of Ontario employees are engaging in. This is also a demon. This is also a psychopath. You're looking at his outward demeanor while he's engaging in the criminal pattern of conduct, while his co-defendants are pacing all around. This is the fake sun that's over me. Yesterday, the City of Ontario is stalking me using dumpster trucks. And while Alaska Airlines is stalking by flying over I Street in Euclid, while I'm walking north of Euclid Avenue into the city of Upland, the entity is keeping the fake sun here. And this is where the fake sun rises. This is the P.O.C. I'm going to show you the evidence of his mental instability and his criminal conduct. This is the entity that's going to be defunded, where the fake sun is here setting. And this is where you're here stalking in somebody's face in furtherance of murder, and you're going to prison for that. This is the entity doing so with the military that are stalking, and those are the the vagina monitors from the City Hall that are engaging in stalking. They're demons that are maintaining light activity, relevant positioning. He's maintaining close presence while the rest of the demons are pacing all around, including in the sky space. This is the criminal cooperation of the pattern of conduct that are putting the gang stalkers that are leading the U.S. military, that are stalking American citizens, both in the United States and abroad, the gang stalking leaders of the Army, the gang stalking leaders of the Marines, the gang stalking leaders of the Air Force, etc. You're going to prison. This is the criminal pattern of conduct. This is monitoring. This is stalking by the government that's maintained through the people of the states, throughout the states. And this is the targeting system that the U.S. military maintains abroad, targeting, terrorizing those that are outside of the U.S. And the terrorist leaders themselves are going to prison. The entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct while terrorist leaders that are over these military branches are engaging in domestic terrorism and doing so with impunity, which is exhibited by a vagina monitor stalking me in my face under a fake sun that is still here over 9 hours later. All right, so first thing I want to show you, this is the fake sunrise, where the City of Ontario is engaging in what is watering the plants. This is abusing a position, using access that you have in order to engage in the government's pattern of conduct. This is how you are stalking where you live, stalking where you work, stalking as you travel, and you are going to federal prison like any other terrorist. The Osama bin Ladens of the U.S. military are going to federal prison while the pattern of conduct is underway by the military via the people of the state, which is the City of Ontario that is gang stalking at the OVITT Family Community Library. Where the fake sun is rising, that's where the fake sun remains right now. Okay, that is 6:12 a.m. This is the same location right here at what is 9:47 a.m. This is identifying a psychopath that is stalking you, and it's not going to be premised upon them talking to you. They don't have to talk to you also when their impossible light activity is touching your person and they're psychologically torturing you and monitoring your vagina while the demons are pacing all around under the fake sun. The fake sun that is also setting here. And this is the demon that's going to prison. Securitas is being prosecuted as well. This is psychopathic behavior under the fake sun, where she's present where it's rising, and she's present over 3 hours later, and she's engaged in that criminal pattern of conduct. Alrighty, this is the location where I'm standing right now, where Securitas is exhibiting mental instability. She's engaged in what you're recognizing. I accidentally paused the video. That was my fault. I'm going to continue. The fake sun is in the same position at 2:33 p.m. This is what I documented on Sunday when I remain here and don't go to Upland. This is where the fake sun is located right here over me. This is where I'm standing after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. This is where you were conspicuously stalking. All right, and this is what an entity does, again, under the guise of being able to defame you. A population is stalking you. There's also molesting with impossible light. A population is stalking you with communication devices in hand, fake sun moving over me, going right into the City Hall where they're engaged in the pattern of conduct. They also go into the bathroom. Psychopaths, the more that they talk to each other, the more convincing that they believe that they appear, while the gang members establish normalcy, while the U.S. military are engaging in targeting via this psychopathic system. The entity is engaged in what is keeping the fake sun over me, while the City of Ontario, the City Hall employees, the municipality employees are engaged in what is psychotic means of targeting. Obsessive stalking is what this is, and it is proven by the fake sun that is here right now at 9:50 a.m. and you're looking at the evidence, what I'm showing you, of it being over me at this same exact location, all right, after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Alrighty, and here is that at 2:33 p.m. Where the entity is stalking me by helicopter, where the City of Ontario keeps your back to you while you document a stalker, and then they continuously engage in that. The entity has no constitutional protections. This is not the exercise of any rights. This is not even the execution of one's job. This is the malicious pattern of conduct, which the psychopaths, the sociopaths, the serial killers, the Osama bin Ladens of the U.S. military, the gang stalker that is leading the military branches, the gang stalkers that are leading the Army, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, like I'm stating, they're the ones that are engaged in this pattern of conduct through the unintelligent demons that I'm documenting and surrounding with evidence. And it is merely their jobs as numbskulls that are merely pacing all around, regardless of how heavy and how probative the evidence is. They're going to prison. The demons of the U.S. military are going to prison, and so are the people of the state. This is the entity that is stalking under a fake sun. That's the military. And the terrorist leader that is over the military branch is going to federal prison for this. This is where the fake sun is present right now, and you are not doing anything other than engaging in the pattern of conduct where you are in this environment. I'll show you the timestamp, 2:33 p.m. at the same exact location where I stand right now at 9:52 a.m. And watering the grass is the pattern of conduct. And this is where the demon is stalking in my path. That's an unlawful threat, and it's also psychological torture, while the entity is stalking with the military using jets and planes and helicopters, engaging what is stalking and molestation with impossible light, and having the nerve. This is what the entity is doing as those who are psychopathic and obsessed, stalking you, and doing so by holding a water hose while you are under the fake sun. The proof of stalking. This is the exact same location where I stand right now, the same building, the OVITT Family Community Library, where a population is pacing all around under that fake sun. This is an entity that is practicing what is witchcraft. That witchcraft that is not effective against me, meaning you are not deceived by it. It's not creating any effective illusion, whereby the entity is typically murdering people and defaming their character before they claim that they committed suicide, while the U.S. military and those that are in position over each branch are going to be federally prosecuted as terrorist leaders. This is the entity that is keeping the fake sun over me at 5:53 p.m. It's over me at the same location right now where I stand, where you're engaging in that pattern of conduct. And this is the entity that's engaging in that together. Paul Leon is being federally prosecuted while the entity is appearing unfazed. You can appear as unfazed as you want under the scientific evidence. This is the entity that's exhibiting mental illness while they do so. And this is the entity that's maintaining a fake sun, which is what you're looking at while it's here at 5:53 p.m. Just giving you an example. This is where the entity is engaged in stalking. All right, doing so as an entity, maintaining presence pursuant to what I'm doing on my device, stalking with the entity that is flying over that's Alaska Airlines, flying over while you are pacing all around, and a demon comes as close as possible. This is what they do by vehicles as well. What Securitas is doing on the roads and the highways. A demon that's parking somewhere in relevant position with their hazard lights on, with the method of light activity. This is what the gang stalking police do, and they are engaging in what is criminal summoning, while the rest of them are pacing all around under the fake sun. At nightfall, where the entity is maintaining the fake moon, which is at the same location where this demon is engaging in what is watering the plants in order to maintain, watering the plants as opposed to just sitting there by me in violation of my right to be free from you stalking me. So the entity is doing so as you are wearing a uniform and watering the grass. That's what the purpose of the gang stalking system is. Okay, this is the entity that is equally psychotic and obsessed, and they are doing so under a fake sun, and that's the evidence of mental instability. It is the evidence that's going to put the people of the state in federal prison. All right, this is the P.O.C. This is the entity that has the fake sun over the same location and doing so with the military that is stalking in the plane that you saw. This is the entity that's doing so while they are monitoring what I'm doing on my devices, monitoring my Instagram. Okay, like I was stated, this is relevant to federal stalking, where the entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct, and they're doing so while they are keeping your evidence under surveillance, surveillance that the entity is maintaining on the venue of the internet. The entity not wanting me to post what is the reality, the ongoing investigation, and you are going to federal prison as you are the leader over the military branches. You are the Osama bin Laden of the U.S. military branches. And just like Osama bin Laden, any other foreign terrorist would be subject to federal prison. You are going to federal prison. Jason Isaac Fields is nothing other than a puppet who is going to federal prison for abiding, conforming to the U.S. government's criminal pattern of conduct. And this is the same thing with regard when you're getting to the minions at the state and local level. Mike LORENZ is engaging in nothing other than the U.S. government's criminal pattern of conduct in the entire agency of the Ontario Police Department. As I go to Upland, the Upland Police Department. As I go to Montclair, the Montclair Police Department. As I go to Chino, the Chino Police Department. As I'm in Colton and in Rialto, the Chino and Rialto and San Bernardino Police Departments, who are gang stalking, and they are all engaging in what is a pattern of conduct which is mutually exclusive, because they maintain a light source over me which is incongruent with common sense, nature, and even science, which are putting predators in federal prison. This is an entity that is maliciously targeting, and they do so, and the psychopath's pattern is to sit with double chins and act as though they don't hear you while they are stalking you. And the evidence of the fake sun that is still here, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 hours later is the evidence of it. Not the entity, the military, that is ignoring you only as you are observing it and looking on the surface, because nothing about their conduct and the environment and the stalking by the U.S. military itself is speaking to ignoring. It is the pattern of conduct. It is the evidence of mental instability, and this is the population that shall be subject to martial law. All right, this is the environment where Kevin committed battery right here after 2 p.m. All right, and his own co-worker is speaking to the fact that this is a psychopath and a vagina monitor that's obsessively stalking. Obsessive stalking is not proven or disproven through their facial expressions. Okay, that's the P.O.C. This is surrounding with light activity, and this is an enterprise that's being defunded. This is the P.O.C. They're all puppets working for the military, and I want to be clear: the military are the ones that are being removed from position. They are being prosecuted in military tribunals. They are going to be involuntarily committed, and they are also going to be subject to what is prison by virtue of your position of leadership. Under the corrupt leadership of the terrorists that are the military branches, this ongoing criminal pattern of conduct is underway, and they have not received any orders to stop gang stalking me. That's why you have this vagina monitor right here under the fake sun. This is P.O.C. And it doesn't change when the fake sun is covered up, all right? While stalking me and looking so serious and focused on the water, I'm being terrorized with impossible light activity. That's the demon possessed, all right? This is nowhere in Upland, California, nor is it going to be, all right? So you're looking at what is the evidence of mental instability. They will be committed, diagnosed with the same body of evidence. They will be removed from office. They will be prosecuted as the heads of the corrupt departments, the corrupt government bodies that are engaging in the pattern of conduct. They will be subject to martial law as the mentally ill population engaging in what is gang stalking and furtherance of criminal defamation, murder, and kidnapping. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:58 a.m. at the OVITT Family Community Library, by the way. This is all surrounding. These are demons that are engaged in detailed presence in the path. Any false move, and you saw it this morning, the entity that's stalking by Alaska Airlines, United Airlines, Frontier Airlines, while I'm standing right here and you saw the fake sun and engine light inside of that same parking garage, the sun hasn't gone anywhere. It's still here. And then you are looking at what is the evidence to diagnose the psychopaths that are demons who are gang stalking, and they're wearing City of Ontario uniforms, gang stalking as the shoes of the government, in the shoes of the government. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:59 a.m. at the OVITT Family Community Library. Okay, all these employees are going to federal prison for engaging in terrorism with the U.S. military, and the heads of the military branches are going to federal prison as well. P.O.C. Alrighty, this is the ongoing criminal cooperation with the military and the stalkers engaging in the P.O.C. OVITT Family Community Libraries, employees are inside monitoring, and this is stalking in the path under the fake sun, and this is the P.O.C., all right? And he's been engaged in, this is evidence that you're going to use in the court. They're engaging in the criminal pattern of conduct in the face of an American citizen. This is what they commit with regard to causing one to engage in suicidal ideation, psychologically torturing, threatening them, while is maintaining their ongoing psychopathic pattern of conduct. And this is going to be impunity. Impunity is what is the ingredient for mandating federal law with regard to what is federal prison, okay? The entities engage in this with the military. That's, you're not headed to a destination. There's no passengers on that plane. They literally came and did a U-turn while the stalker maintains presence here, and they open the library. So all the demons are pacing on the inside of the library as well, while he is stalking in the path by virtue of being an employee and coming over. What can you do over by Erica under the fake sun and monitor her? Go ahead and first of all, like Kevin does, just park the vehicle with the light activity and pull out some chemicals and spray them on her. Act like you're going to go wipe down a window. Whatever it is, you don't have to do anything. They can take out their diapers and start eating their feces like they're typically doing when they are gang stalking in this manner, pulling out a water hose and watering the plants under the fake sun while the military is engaged in the psychopathic pacing all around. This is how you're gang stalking. This is what they're doing in the library, where the pattern of conduct circles around is centered around books, while they're stalking in book stacks, stalking at the library, outside of the library where I am located. And this is the entity that's doing so. This is absurdly psychotic behavior. She's actually stalking with light. She's not securing anything. She's securing her place in prison. And she's stalking with light. So you're talking about what is mental instability that's being established with regard to her federal case and prosecuting her. And she's representing Securitas that I'm also prosecuting. And her co-defendants are pacing all around faithfully under the fake sun. This is P.O.C. This is the entity that's going to be subject to martial law. And I want to be clear, one that's wearing slacks and a button-up is as psychotic and demon-possessed and criminal as the gang on crack that cannot lift their necks up. They're not different. This is the P.O.C. They are demons together pacing, the drug addict and the one that's employed by the City of Ontario, in case you were about the illusions that the demon-possessed vagina monitors share. There is an illusion with regard to what is some sort of difference in status and a population of strangers. None of them are strangers. They're all under the fake sun. And this drug addict is equally demon possessed and equally and criminally engaged in the pattern of conduct. While this psychopath wants to sit right by me, watering the grass is the guise of criminal presence under a fake sun. I just want you to see that, because it doesn't change while the military are still engaged in their psychopathic way. Woo, just flying, woo, one plane after another, stalking. Where the entity is stalking by helicopter, you're engaging in the pattern of conduct. You are as obvious as walking around in the nude, holding a hose is the prosecution of Paul Leon. These are the psychopaths that are gang stalking. And the City of Ontario employees are going to prison. They've engaged in criminal summoning throughout the years as I've been documenting the terrorists of the Ontario Police Department. They are very much indeed going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. It's 10:09 a.m. This is a picture, the image, the documentation proving malice. All right, this is the entity that's maliciously, and malice does not equate to intelligence. There's nothing intelligent about engaging in what the military is doing. And the unintelligent demons that are highly malicious are sociopathic, psychopathic, antisocial, engaging in microaggressive, highly passive-aggressive conduct, which is equally criminal. And it is terrorism based on numerosity. The government is targeting through a population. And they are all on the same level. They're all lower beings. They're all creatures. They're all cockroaches. Whether they work for the city, whether they hold office, or whether they sit around sniffing crack and can't hold up their neck. That's what you need to understand about them. They are not different at all. They are all engaged in the P.O.C. It is currently 10:09 a.m. and under the law, they are equally felons. They're equally terrorists. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, it is currently, I want you to see the fake sun over my head, 1:11 p.m. These are demons stalking, coming straight out of the city hall. They're stalking me in doing so. This that's engaged in stalking at the Ontario Town Square, he's a psychopath. He engages in pacing with the military at nightfall at the square. He's doing so under the fake sun that's following, moving away from the door, stalking. And you are stalking, walking out, tracking my steps under the fake sun, walking out of the city hall. That's documented. I want you to see this tall, bald-headed pipsqueak that's engaged in what is monitoring my vagina while walking out of the venue of the Ontario City Hall. They're hurrying up and running into the black van where they're going. I just want you to be clear. This is the military that's stalking me by commercial planes, helicopters, somebody that's engaged in the sex offense, the perpetual sex offense, and is trying to duck and dodge documentation right now. This is the fake sun moving across the parking lot, 50876X2. He is monitoring with the government, and he goes to the city hall in order to do so. This is the pattern of conduct. This is P.O.C. Thank you. I just wanted to get your mug. This is the pattern of conduct. This is the black van. They're monitoring and doing so while they're keeping me under surveillance at the Ontario City Hall. They are engaging in the P.O.C. while I am indisposed inside of the restroom. They're engaging in the sex offense with all of the city of Ontario. This is pacing. And by the way, this is, oh, it's okay.
No,
Where are you from? You want to give me where you're from?
It's okay.
You can identify yourself. You can just do that. What's your name?
No, I was asking, what did you...
Yeah, I know. What's your name?
That's your room.
Okay, well then we don't need to speak then. I'm documenting the pattern of conduct. The perplexed look is the mental illness. He's gang stalking. That's the pattern of conduct. That's a demon. Okay, that's probably one that's in office and looking perplexed while he is gang stalking. Okay, watch the fake sun move over me. You see, that's the pattern of conduct. He's engaged in vagina monitoring. He's engaged in vagina monitoring while he is in the city hall. The same city hall that has the fake sun over me at 7 in the morning. All right, this is where you're diagnosing mental illness. Gang stalking with the same sex offenders of the city of Ontario. Gang stalking while it's the same as P.O.C. impossible light activity. The entity that's maintaining impossible light activity is doing so under the fake sun and looking perplexed, necessarily so, because no one wants to be associated with what they're doing, which is vagina monitoring. That's why the fake sun is remaining over me as I'm walking outside of the presence of that sex offender that's tracking my steps, walks out of the city hall to engage in the pattern of conduct with the people of the state at this venue. This is where the city hall has the fake sun over me, like I documented this morning. This is where the U.S. military is stalking by commercial planes, which has nothing to do with the legitimate operations of the Ontario International Airport. And I'm documenting a demon that's dressed up in a suit to come and monitor my vagina and looking perplexed while I catch him in the act. This is the pattern of conduct. He is the entity. There is no sun that's going to be what is 1:13. That was 6 hours ago. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That was 6 hours ago. While I'm documenting all the gang stalking geezers as I documented them, and I walk through this impossible light over here, this is equally impossible light. Well, now the fake sun is in its zenith over the top of my head, and you still have engineer light touching all over everything, and they're still walking through it. And the demon that's going to prison with Securitas is still stalking. Okay, this is the P.O.C. They're engaged in surveillance in the bathroom, and while they're monitoring together in the United States, children that are kidnapped and are kept under surveillance through sex offenders like this African-American male who is engaging in the pattern of conduct with the City of Ontario local government, going inside of that venue, walking out in order to gang stalk me, as walking in alignment to me as I'm walking out. That's a demon that's tracking my steps. And then while you're documenting them looking perplexed, doesn't want to identify himself, but he doesn't. You know what he is. He's a vagina monitor. This is the pattern of conduct. The fake sun is remaining over me while the entity is monitoring on my device. This is the same senior center where they're flying over at 2:34 in the morning.
Stalking? Well, they're stalking as I'm documenting at 5:40 in the morning while I'm documenting plane after plane after plane. This is the senior center that has the fake sun over me. This is where the sun was rising. And you are going to look perplexed while you're being federally prosecuted, coming in a large black van engaging in surveillance with the government on behalf of the entity that's obsessed with my vagina. Obsessed. That's the P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaged in that as one, and this is where the entity is under the fake sun. All right? That's the P.O.C. While everybody else is walking by, you see this fake sun stay stationary? This is how you're identifying psychopathic pacing. Communication device in the back pocket, moving all around, not the shared experience, all right? That's the pattern of conduct. This is an entity that committed kidnapping, and this is what they do in the United States. They kidnap children from across the globe. They bring them to the United States, keep them under surveillance, monitor even down to their genitalia. As I'm showing you, they're stalking in helicopters because I threaten that system as I expose it. This entity, the U.S., the state of California, keeping me under surveillance, while remaining in the state of California and keeping my genitalia under surveillance since I was a child. All right, Paul Leon and the city of Ontario have been engaged in the sex offense while I am remaining in the city of Ontario. But this is an entity that's targeting together as one, and it is literally underscored by the evidence of the fake sun. Okay, what is classic is the facial expression of the vagina monitor under the direct evidence of it. I love it. Rewind it, look at his face again, listen to what he's saying, and you already know what he's doing. This is where the fake sun is present at 7 in the morning. This is the evidence that's prosecuting, and the demons that are doing cartwheels and U-turns over the city hall parking lot. The demons that are engaged in criminal summoning Michael GERKEN, a vagina monitor, engaged in surveillance. That's the evidence. The evidence of mental illness is that facial expression, that perplexed look. P.O.C. It is currently, by the way, 1:16 p.m. This is evidence of vagina monitoring at the senior center. Right? This is P.O.C. Ontario Police, stalking, that's vehicle 119. Stalking in concert with the same pattern of conduct that the people of the state engage in, pacing together while the entity flies over with the fake sun over the top of my head. This is doing when there are no flights scheduled. It's 1:35 p.m. Ontario Police stalking at the Ontario City Hall. That's psychopathic pacing with the third party that's walking and the vehicle moving. This is pacing. This is southward pacing around. Now the African-American female and American male with the bald head coming out of the City Hall, that's gang stalking under the same fake sun. Ontario police are under where the fake sun is at 7 in the morning. This is stalking by the police. And they are coming over here at nightfall, stalking me, knowing exactly where I'm sleeping. They're going to prison. Vehicle 119 was gang stalking yesterday morning as well. If this is the same one, 1697636, it's federal prison. This is P.O.C. under the fake sun. All right, that's the pattern of conduct. That's the P.O.C. Do I need help? That's the audible activity of a demon. He's going to prison. That's the pattern of conduct. He knows exactly who I am. Stalking with the military, he's going to prison. This is the gang stalkers of the Ontario Police. See the same pattern with the City of Ontario vehicles with the light activity. The fake sun is over me this morning during the 7 a.m. hour. This is the entity that committed kidnapping. Okay? The Ontario Police are engaged in kidnapping as an agency, and the United States, the military, committed kidnapping, which is what is occurring while I am a child and as an adult now that I'm exposing the system that's underway in the U.S. This is the entity that engages in what is psychological torture, harassment, and gang stalking in order to silence that targeted individual. This is stalking by the law enforcement agency and the military in sync with the people of the state and the municipality. I want to be clear, the entity is engaged in this under the fake sun. This is a demon that's in a police uniform with a gun in a police vehicle. He's going to prison and he's severely mentally ill. This is relevant to the kidnapping that the U.S. government engages in while they have engaged in what is criminally defaming and stalking and monitoring with this very department. This is the pattern of conduct. He's going to federal prison. This is the pattern of conduct by Mike LORENZ in the same way that the gang stalkers of the U.S. military are engaged in a pattern of conduct. This is psychopathic pacing. He's going to prison. All right, that's P.O.C. Ben is on the other side talking. He's going to prison as well. And he's subject to deportation. Ben is an immigrant. He's going to be the P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaged in kidnapping. Yeah, this is what Tracy Banks stole my identity for. This is the gang stalking that the people of the state share in as they kidnap children from across the world to the United States, keep them under surveillance by the military that's engaged in gang stalking with the people of the state. This is the entity that's engaged in that together as one, and this is that pattern of conduct that they engage in while they are engaging in that kidnapping system, theft of money and property and wealth, doing so while they are engaging in what is seeking to criminally defame you while they engage in this pattern of conduct which nobody is imagining. This is psychopathic pacing by the demons that are wearing police uniforms. They're all going to prison. They're being disbanded. They're pacing right now while they're in vehicles and in the sky space surrounding. Want to see 1, 2, 3? You see that? This is what the people of the state are doing. This agency is going to be disbanded. They're going to prison. They're a part of kidnapping that Tracy Banks is engaging in with them. But Tracy Banks, regarding what is stealing and my identity and lying about my identification, the fact that she's not my biological mother, the fact that the Ontario police know exactly who I am, lying about the fact of any sort of violence, for example, when they engaged in the May 29, 2026 kidnapping. This is the agency that's engaged in what is targeting with the U.S. military, that kidnaps and engages in sex trafficking minor children that are wealthy. They murder their relatives and move them across the globe. That's why I'm in the United States, and the entity has lied about my identity. 1661786 knows exactly who I am, proven through the environment and also through the gang stalking by the department with the military that's stalking over the city hall. And then you're going to remember the perplexed look of the bald-headed vagina monitor walking out of the city hall, gang stalking me with this department. He's going to prison. He's going to prison. This is relevant to the entity that stole my identity. This is why they stole my identity. This is why they stole my money and wealth. This is why Mike LORENZ has been trying to frame me with regard to criminal acts that I never committed, while they are engaged in what is kidnapping as a government system to steal your identity. This is what they do to children. Okay, that's the P.O.C. Tracy Banks has been engaged in what is stealing my identity. Eric Spencer sharing in that pattern of conduct. This is an entity that is gang stalking with the airport and now is engaged in what is loitering in a relevant position. What's bringing his attention here? The pattern of conduct. All right, the entity that's engaged in what is loitering with Securitas, who's been under the fake sun, she's going to prison. This is the entity stalking all night long by helicopter, engaging that P.O.C. I want you to see that. While the license remains over me, license 1697636. This is federal prison. And this is the entity that engages in kidnapping and then engages in what is ongoing surveillance, which is not a defense with regard to what is the criminal act that the U.S. government engages in with the people of the state. That's the P.O.C. It is currently, by the way, 1:40 p.m. under the fake sun. This is the P.O.C. How can I help you? What do you want? I saw what you were doing. You were driving by while the airport's flying over, creating a public nuisance. Why are you bothering me?
Well, we just got a call for service on you that you guys...
About me? Who am I?
I don't know. What was your name again?
You don't know my name? But you got a call on me? And what about me? What was I doing?
Just someone concerned saying that they heard you, that they thought you were yelling at somebody else.
And so you drove in, engaging in the pattern of conduct. This is criminal summoning. He's going to prison. This is the entity that's engaging in kidnapping with the U.S. military, and this is what he's representing. He's going to federal prison. This is while his partners are surrounding and light activity. Literally, this is the P.O.C. and this is a lying demon. Is there anything else? I didn't state anything to you. I'm documenting you remaining, which is a terrorizing threat right now. You're not. It's a terrorizing threat. There's no violation of the law, even on what you're admitting that you got a call about. And this is who he's claiming called him, the people that are gang stalking. He's going to prison. This is the P.O.C. This is the Mike LORENZ is going to prison, and the gang stalkers of the U.S. military that are engaged in targeting together. And this is the agency that's been engaged in systematic kidnapping. Southwest Airlines on video stalking. He's monitoring with Benjamin, and this is the entity targeting with the City of Ontario employees with the light activity. And this is what they do with regard to trying to convert something into a health check, trying to convert something into a kidnapping. This is the entity. He's got impossible light across the building. He's going to prison, and so are his partners, and this agency is being disbanded. And this is the entity that engages in that kidnapping system. This is stalking. She's making sure she's surrounded on the path. She's going to prison. This is a OVITT Family Community Library employee. She's going to prison. Pay attention to that fake sun. That's the P.O.C. And they're stalking together with the Ontario police. This is a threat. All right, that's the threat. Well, they engaged in kidnapping at 10:27 in the morning on video, and this is the fake sun over me during the same time of year in the afternoon. This is the environment where they're engaged in surveillance, and you just heard that barefaced lie about why he's here, who called him, and why he's talking to me. It's all the pattern of conduct. While you literally see the military stalking in the environment. This is P.O.C. It is currently 1:42 p.m. All right, what I want you to pay attention to is the alleyway where the entity is concentrating presence just earlier this morning, where the fake sun is still over, where the City of Ontario had the blue van, and this demon, including this one that's crippled, she was documented this morning under the fake sun that's still here over me, gang stalking with the City of Ontario that maintained that blue van, and they were pacing up and down this walkway. This is the gang stalk. He represents the entity that's being deported out of the state of California that's engaging in surveillance. He's gang stalking under the fake sun and is doing so with the police communicating a threat. This is a threat while the entity is stalking you through police police officers asking you questions that you don't have to answer. While they're asking you questions, it is, for example, watering the plants while stalking you and monitoring on your device. This is what the entity is doing. And this is the entity that's engaging in that threat together while they were literally engaging in the outward exposure of their own mental illness, psychopathic pacing, under the enduring fake sun that's here in the morning, settings supposed to be over up in public library, while you are representing that somebody called you. The people of the state that are gang stalking are the ones that called you, right? Okay. The gang stalking military that are doing U-turns over the parking lot are the ones that called you, right? Oh, the demons that are stalking with the light activity under the fake sun in the city of Ontario vehicles, the gang stalkers of Securitas, all right? The mop head and the one frequently changing the pieces in the head, gang stalking under that fake sun. She's under it after 6 p.m., gang stalking over here. This is why they're stating that they're calling you. This is the entity that's pacing down the same walkway, concentrating on my location, exhibiting mental illness, highly malicious conduct, and on video, you're looking at them stalking. Ontario police stalking flight going this way. This is relevant to the engineer light, the psychopathic pacing, which they're doing in a police vehicle, in a commercial plane, under the fake sun that's remaining over me, and as in concert with the population. And as I document that, then that demon comes out off the top of his brain, okay? I'm here because I'm asking and insisting on talking to me who I don't have to talk to him, all right? And not only that, he's lying. He is lying, okay? He's making it up on the fly while I'm documenting. You can make up anything. You can come and actually come pick a body up out of the senior center because it's the pattern of conduct. Monitoring, targeting, while the entity was engaged in U-turns over. There's no airport. There's no takeoffs over here. And you're not headed to a destination. It is the pattern of conduct, of stalking. And this is what the Tracy Banks engaged in kidnapping for. This is the entity that's gang stalking in furtherance of murder, because I'm exposing the fact that this entity, this government, kidnapped me, murdered my relatives, kidnapped me, brought me to the United States. Tracy Banks not being my biological mother. Eric Spencer not being my biological brother. Engaging what is taking you to the United States, where you don't know that you are wealthy and that your identity has been stolen, which is what Tracy Banks did. Lying about being my mother and also lying about the fact that she's me, Erica Spencer, stealing my identity. And why is she doing that as an adult to a child? Because I'm a wealthy child and not knowing it, not knowing that I've been kidnapped, and engaging in what is stealing my identity and representing herself as one that is wealthy, while she is falsely depicting my character as one that is mentally ill, whose care I'm in, even up to the point to where I'm an adult. Hence the military, the city of Ontario, the state of California, the entity that's engaging in the surveillance system, everyone, everywhere in that environment, the demons that come to the United States to participate in what the United States government is maintaining, kidnapping children, sex trafficking them, stealing from those that are wealthy, taking them from little corners around the globe where they are oppressed, where they come from wealth and they don't know it. And this is the entity that's engaged in that surveillance system. This is the P.O.C. Okay? This is the pattern of conduct. He is under the fake sun in the morning and he's still here. That's the one that's going to prison. All right? Amongst many others. But I just want to be clear. This is the entity that's engaging in those relevant context, while you are on a practical day-by-day basis gang stalking as a local police. With regard to what is greater, they're gang stalking me, which is proven, and you're also going to prosecute for that malicious iteration of the P.O.C. claiming that you got a call, and that's why you're stalking me in my face, which is communication of a threat after engaging in a pattern of kidnapping and lying about my character, which is still on the internet, while the entity is with the military in furtherance of murder, stalking in the planes. This is where they're stalking by the helicopters with the people of the state, all manner of a threat while you're lying, gang stalking. The U.S. government, the U.S. military are terrorist leaders, and Osama bin Laden, the terrorist leaders of the Air Force, the Army, the Marine Corps, they are engaging in a pattern of conduct, which includes children outside of just myself while I'm prosecuting and exposing it. I represent children that are already dead, that the United States government, the entity, have murdered and stolen their wealth, knowing exactly who they are. These are demons in the U.S. that engage in that, and they do so also as demons who are celebrities, monitoring children that have been kidnapped and brought to the U.S., while the entity is making albums that is stealing intellectual property, while an American citizen like myself is kept under surveillance, being gang stalked, being intimidated, being sexually violated as a population keeps a child that is wealthy, that has been stolen from, whose identity has been stolen and has been used by those that have nothing to do with the with who I am exactly. What I'm speaking to is you have the gang stalkers that have also stolen my identity, stolen money, engaging in what is cashing in death certificates with regard to insurance policies, but I've never died. and I'm still alive, and I'm documenting, and you have the entity engaging in this P.O.C. So I just want to give context regarding this iteration of the P.O.C. and the kidnapping that the United States government is engaging in, and the gang stalking that is underway while it is being exposed through my documentation of the P.O.C. Tracy Banks has stolen my identity, stolen my money and wealth, and so has every person that I am related to. Eric Spencer, Tommy Allen Banks. This is the entity that Jason Isaac Fields that's engaged in the pattern of conduct, sleeping with Tracy Banks, marrying her, stealing my money, doing so, conspiring against me, and then giving evidence against this very entity in order to expose it, which is confirming what it is that I have stated I have been subject to the entire time. The policy is that when you're stalking as a police, like the Ontario police just showed, they were surrounding at every corner. That's psychological torture, and that's an unlawful threat. They're going to be disbanded, and they're going to prison. And that demon right here was stalking, and that was the military acting through the Ontario police in this video under this fake sun, pursuant to the pattern of conduct. And that bald-headed vagina monitor that was tracking my steps, stalking me, walking out of the city hall, even walking in front of me, because that's supposed to look like you're not stalking and that you don't know who they are, but you know what the entire country of the United States is engaging in. Kidnapping children that are wealthy, killing their relatives, and then stealing that wealth that a child is supposed to inherit, stealing their identity. This is exactly what Tracy Banks and the people of the state have done, and they've done it with the government that's gang stalking. Okay? This is the P.O.C. This is the entity that's doing so in furtherance of murder. And that's what the Ontario Police Department are engaging in while they are gang stalking me and claiming that these gang stalkers, these demons, just called them right now. Because I'm yelling. I've been outside documenting the entire time. They know exactly what it is that I'm speaking of, especially while the fake sign is not over Upland Public Library. It's right here over me where he just uttered that lie right now as to why he is stalking. Watering the bushes and stalking right in the path. Okay, this is the entity that's engaged in that P.O.C. and doing so as a police department that's exposed as actually kidnappers, seeking to commit murder to get away with kidnapping as a government system, sex trafficking as a government system, theft, calculated long-term plans regarding getting away with theft, massive wealth accomplished, which is shared with those who are in office, those who are celebrities, those who have stolen, engaged in copyright infringement through this surveillance system. And that's all related to the entity that just engaged in what is a documented threat. And Mike LORENZ is going to prison, and the terrorist leaders, the Osama bin Laden of the Army, of the Air Force, of the Marine Corps, these terrorist leaders that are engaging in what is kidnapping, just like I was kidnapped as a child, stealing from and murdering relatives in order to surround that child and steal from that child, which this entity committed against me. This is what they're doing around the globe. And the terrorist leaders over the military are going to prison for it, and they're going to federal prison for the stalking by the Ontario Police Department. This is a pattern of conduct, and those in position, aiding in and executing and maintaining this system where the people of the state are conspicuously, this is all stalking. Right in you're going to prison for it. This is P.O.C. It is currently 1:51 p.m. That was Southwest Airlines, and the entity was engaged in what is doing a U-turn flying in the distance while I'm documenting stalking by a police department. And you have the employee, OVITT Family Community Library. That psychopath is on the PDF with the OVITT Family Community Library. She's stalking. She's making sure she's surrounding. You see the fake sun remaining over me as I move. All of the employees in the OVITT Family Community Library are going to prison. All of them, every single last one of them, they committed kidnapping under the 10:29 a.m. fake sun at this OVITT Family Community Library, where that same criminal duo, the Ontario Police and OVITT Family Community Library, under the fake sun at the same address after 1 o'clock in the afternoon, is engaging in the P.O.C. That was June 16, 2022. At the same time of year, this would never be the natural environment. This is where you're looking at surveillance, and you see them without batting an eye, okay? Lying regarding surveillance. They're going to prison, and they're going to be committed for this. And this is an entity that engaged in stealing from me, kidnapping me, murdering my relatives, and then stealing my wealth. This is the pattern of conduct. It is currently 1:52 p.m. Securitas employees are all going to prison. P.O.C. All right, the video evidence that you just listened to and that you can view that is published to the Pattern of Conduct website. This is the POC.wordpress.com. This is showing you the ongoing pattern of conduct that I documented earlier. And that I'm always documenting, really. But I'm documenting earlier, the entity that's engaged in real-time monitoring engages in the pattern of conduct in sync with, pursuant to the things that I reveal in this investigation, meaning what I say as I say it, what I do on my device as I do it, what I reveal as I reveal it through my words, or in operation of my device, I capture some sort of piece of damning evidence or some person or something. This is the entity that's engaged in real-time reactions, if you will, pursuant to what they're keeping under surveillance, me and my device and everything that I am documenting, which is on my device. And that's pursuant to me, the one that's thinking about it, the one that's processing it, analyzing it, producing it, publishing it, etc. So the entity is engaged in stalking. The Ontario Police just exposed to you while you're looking at demonic activity. This is the evidence that's going to convict them for stalking, and it's also the evidence that's to diagnose them as mentally ill stalkers who are acting in conformity to the pattern of conduct, which is deranged, it's psychopathic, and it's highly malicious, pursuant to the U.S. government that has in fact engaged in kidnapping me. And this is that which is in concert with Tracy Banks, who has stolen my identity, stole my identity as a child, has lied about being my biological mother, and has done so with regard to stealing money that the government is engaged in. The government that's interested in the people of the state stealing my identity is the government that engaged in kidnapping me, and doing so pursuant to what is murdering relatives that are wealthy and that would leave me wealth as an inheritance, okay? Money that is left to me, property that is left to me. And the entity that is gang stalking me is the same one that committed murder of anyone that is before me that would have bequeathed money, property to me. This is the entity that committed murder. This is what Tracy Banks is liable for. This is what the government is liable for. Understand, any murder that this entity commits, they commit as one. It's a government system. Now, yes, you're talking about the person that literally engaged in what is that taking of the life of another. But you need to understand that the United States military are the murderers that are acting with the people of the state who commit murder as an entity while they engage in surveillance, while they engage in kidnapping children across the world and bringing them to other parts of the world where they don't know anyone, and they're told as a child, which they never question, that this is your mom and this is your dad, and that these are the circumstances that you're born in. You don't know anything about money that you've inherited. You know anything about your true identity. You don't know that perhaps you are even royalty, that you are abundantly wealthy, and your parents, that as so you have been told, have been keeping you under surveillance with the government, keeping your genitalia under surveillance, and whatever bathroom that you use with your so-called parents that are welcoming the government to keep you under surveillance every night when you take a bath, and when you, as a teenager, as you're taking a shower, and as I'm showing you what vagina monitoring is. And not only are the sex offenders who are my so-called family members engaging in that, the government is in the household, keeping the kidnapped child under surveillance until the point of adulthood, which is where I am at now. And the entity throughout my adulthood has also been keeping me under surveillance, and I can directly testify to the entity that has engaged in what is specific targeting that is designed to keep you at an economic standpoint, to hold you captive at one spot, one level. And that is regardless. This is also what is targeting, because I am one that has accomplished higher education. I am one that is overqualified for much of the things that I've even applied for with regard to employment. And it is this government that is gang stalking me to date, including every homeless demon with a communication device stalking in the path while I'm on the freeways, while I'm driving to a job interview, and a bum that's got a bottle of whiskey in his hand is monitoring me with the U.S. military as I am denied employment by the people of the state, aiding in a ceaseless pattern of conduct. It's not based on status. The entire United States is engaged in a surveillance system. It's literally engaged in what is stealing wealth from those who are, I would say, inheritors of what is all forms of abundance, not only giftedness, where the entity keeps children who are advanced, who are gifted under surveillance. More often than not, those children are also wealthy, coming from what is wealth that they know nothing about, and they're also not living it. Okay, this is what Tracy Banks did. Tracy Banks is an adult who stole my identity as a baby. Tracy Banks has lied about being my biological mother while she's been engaged in keeping me under surveillance with the government. Tracy Banks has done so and permitted the government to do so, which is her being a sex offender and a facilitator of sexual violence. In fact, sex trafficking, which is ultimately the government's criminal system, while the government is engaging in what is kidnapping other children just like me, bringing them across the globe where they don't know anybody, they don't know anything about their history, they don't know anything about their family, they only know what they are told. And they are not told that they're wealthy, they're not told that they have inherited wealth, they are not told that those who claim to be their family, like what Tracy Banks, Tommy Allen Banks, going by Pete Banks, Eric Spencer, Leroy Lomaxis Spencer, that is in West Virginia, is engaging in what is this criminal system with regard to wanting to murder me in order to silence me from exposing that. And Tracy Banks's and this entity, including all of the people of the state that are gang stalking, for example, all of those that are necessarily in a natural environment, not under the sun today while I'm not in Upland, California. And the fake sun is remaining over me while the Ontario police, who are aiding in what is gang stalking, the one that the United States government, they have kidnapped and are engaging what is lying about why they are stalking in the path with the military by commercial plane in a police vehicle under the fake sun. This is where the pattern of conduct, which is highly deranged, is relevant context regarding kidnapping that I was subject to by this same government, the United States, way back in the 80s. And the government has been keeping me under surveillance the entire time. Every state that I lived in. When I lived abroad in Europe, in Germany, when I lived in England, when I traveled to Japan, when I lived in Naples, Florida, the United States government has been keeping me under surveillance. The United States government is doing so while I remain subject to it in Ontario, and you're looking how that pattern of conduct is executed. You're listening to how the entity is responding in real time while I document it. This is the entity that committed kidnapping through the people of the state that include Tracy Banks, that include Eric Spencer, who has grown up engaging in the pattern of conduct. I'm older than him, but he is a violent sex offender that conformed to the pattern of conduct as a child, not telling me that I'm being targeted, that he is in fact targeting me, that the government is in our home, keeping him and me under surveillance, monitoring my genitalia, sexual violence that Eric Spencer as a third party engaging in what is a conspiracy to murder, to steal from me, to defame me, in the event that I ever expose it, and then engaging in this deranged pattern of conduct, which is supposed to make you look like you are imagining things. In fact, you've never heard of the fact that you are, in fact, actually, you would be defamed, and nobody is ever going to look into the background of who your identity, who you actually are. No one's going to look into the background regarding whether or not Tracy Banks that's defaming you, Eric Spencer who are defaming you, are actually your blood relatives, or Tracy Banks is actually your biological mother. Nobody looks into that. The U.S. government accomplishes kidnapping you, bringing you to some other part of the world where they keep you under hovering, inhumane surveillance, which is what the people of the state are doing under the fake sun. That is not in a natural environment over Upland Public Library, where I'm under surveillance in Upland, California, which is the state of California's P.O.C. with the United States government, who's not holding any court hearings about its own criminal pattern of conduct, not questioning, not ignorant, knows very well who I am and that they engaged in kidnapping me and are gang stalking with regard to the inability to prove that I am mentally ill, and I never was, while the entity is doing so with those that they want to protect, such as those who are in office, those who are wealthy celebrities, those who have stolen from me, those who have engaged in cashing out insurance policies under the claim, the false and malicious and fraudulent claim that I'm dead, that I died under some mental illness, under some sick circumstances, under some guise of suicide, while they have already cashed in on an insurance plan. You have the Ontario police lying in my face, talking about somebody called the police on them. Called them, the police, who are gang stalking. That's criminal summoning within the pattern of conduct. The entity that you hear stalking by planes right now is the crime scene where the Ontario police are admittedly exposing the people of the state as engaging in criminal summoning, while the Ontario police are surrounding at every angle. OVITT Family Community Library behind me, Ontario police in front of me, Ontario police to the left and right of me, the entity stalking by the military above me. That's the entity that's engaging in the pattern of conduct and lying about why I am documenting them in my presence, which was not pursuant to criminal summoning. He came up with what is an admission to engage. It's all criminal activity, whether you want to claim that you're just driving through, perusing through the city hall location, or whether you're admitting that it's a federal offense that you're engaging in also criminal summoning. And I'm here because the people of the state, which is what they do, they make up facts as they go. The people of the state called me because I got information on you. So he knows exactly who I am. He knows exactly what I look like. And I'm yelling. This is what they're claiming. And this is an entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct. They are yelling at all hours of the day, monitoring me. They're engaged in what is ongoing helicopter and plane activity, which is louder than my voice, competing on this. And this is the entity that's claiming that you were summoned because someone is yelling. And he's doing that under the fake sun, where the military is engaging in a kidnapping system, a sex ring regarding children, and also what is kidnapping and sex trafficking them and they're also ones that they are stealing from. The sex trafficking, the pedophilia, the homosexuality, the bestiality, in other words, the perverted sexual activity of the demons, the military, the government, the entity that is monitoring is relevant to what is demonic activity, witchcraft practices, okay? The witchcraft of the entity that is gang stalking me is relevant to what is the mental illness, the sexually perverted conduct that they inflict upon children that they kidnap, kidnapping those who are wealthy, murdering their relatives, and also stealing from those children, removing them from the area where they are from, and then moving them to the United States, where the United States is engaging in this system throughout the country. All right, and they engage in also sexually violating those children. This is what the government is engaging in. This is relevant to the motive that the military has with regard to targeting me. This is lying, flying in the face of demons that claim that they were only targeting me because they were told about me by Tracy Banks. Lying, flying in the face of demons that are stating that they didn't know anything about me, and that they are only engaged in what is arriving at the in the presence of the targeted individual pursuant to an international child trafficking ring that the government is engaging with those even outside of the U.S. while they are engaging in Ontario, California. This is why the entity is stalking me in Ontario and following me into Upland and following me as I come back from Upland into Ontario, which is proven through the specific environment which I have outlined for you. This is the entity that is engaged in gang stalking me in concert with Tracy Banks. Why are they gang stalking with Tracy Banks? Tracy Banks is one that has stolen my identity and has engaged in what is lying about being me while I am being gang stalked and documenting it outside. While I'm outside, this is where the entity, like the Ontario police, who share in kidnapping with the U.S. government while you're gang stalking me, lying about gang stalking and stating that in fact that instead you're present in front of my face because somebody called the police on me. And that is also then the wherewithal where they have the ability to then question you and harass you and quiz you and see how much you know and whether you are able to stand up to them violating your rights and whether you're aware of that, where they then engage in things such as kidnapping you while they make up facts in real time about why they will then kidnap you while they are engaging in the pattern of conduct the entire time, while the entity which you see the wealth of evidence against the OVITT Family Community Library and the Ontario Police Department in concert with the people of the state, stalking with the military who are in the background, stalking in commercial planes, engaging in this pattern of conduct which the military has been engaged in, that is the states. The United States have been engaged in since I was a child, kidnapped and brought to the United States. Made part of a sex trafficking ring, which is what the military, the terrorist leaders, the people of the state, sex offenders, pedophiles like Tracy Banks and Tommy Allen Banks, and Leroy Lomax's Spencer engage in sex with children in order to not only oppress them psychologically, but to steal from them, traumatize them, oversee it. When you're violating children like that, you are intentionally doing so in the effort to violate them to such a degree that they will grow up and not have enough confidence or even desire to want to do something with their life, not having enough confidence. That's relevant to enforcing your rights against a government that's violating your rights. Okay, so for some reason, the entity thought that gang stalking me was going to stop me or silence me or oppress me or scare me. This is what the entity, these are the tools of the enemy. The enemy is the spirit, the devil, and these are all demon-possessed people that are engaging in demonic activity, which is also criminal. And the United States government that is stalking in these commercial planes are simultaneously exposing demon possession to you. And it's relevant that this is what they do to children around the globe. They're doing it to those that are inside and outside of the United States. And those that come to the United States, like Benjamin, they come to the United States to share and partake in this surveillance system in furtherance of murdering American citizens like me who are aware of this trafficking system where the government wants to target children of God while they're children, while they're babes. They don't know about money that they've inherited, and they are being stolen from with regard to spiritually monitoring them, which is physically stalking them, keeping them under surveillance while they're also psychologically and mentally running experiments on you. They are spiritually attacking. They are spiritually surveilling you. This is monitoring, while they are also, as I've proven with tangible evidence, physically stalking in the most absurd and deranged manners, where you're looking at a bunch of demons that are under the fake sun still at the same location, pacing back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. They're sharing in surveillance together while the Ontario police are talking about the fact, oh, they're here because somebody called. Anybody could call. This is the entity that's engaging in surveillance. They come up with it at a drop of a dime. That's the threat by the people of the state who are going to prison. Namely, those inside of the OVITT Family Community Library like Natasha, like Abigail, like the demons that are gang stalking, in other words, working at the libraries, where I maintain a large amount of my time documenting this, the evidence in this investigation, and those actors of the government. Remember, these are city libraries, so these are not this is not the people of the state proper. This is the people of the state that are acting as state actors inside of facilitating venues that are attributed to what is the government. That's the City of Ontario Library. That's the City of Upland Library. That's the City of Chino, San Bernardino County Library. That is the Fontana Lewis Library, is the San Bernardino County City of Fontana Library. These are functions of the government that's engaging what is employing the people of the state who are engaging in surveillance, and they're going to prison for it. The entities engaging in this while I am under surveillance, and I have been since a child. And I'm going to repeat it one more time while you hear the government gang stalking me like they've been doing for over 40 years. Kidnapping me in the 80s. Removing me from my place of origin to the United States. Lying with Tracy Banks. Tracy Banks didn't lie by herself. Lying with Tracy Banks about being my mother. Making her my biological parent on paper. Lying about who I'm related to. Killing relatives that were in possession of wealth and in a position and left me wealth so that Tracy Banks can engage in what is inheriting that wealth by kidnapping me with the government. That's fully holding hands with her, with my relatives that are engaging in that pattern of conduct. That's what I want. That's why I'm repeating that over and over again. This is what is relevant regarding to date the Ontario police stalking me. The entity engages in gang stalking as an all-hail Mary tactic at the last hour. It's already over. But this is context. This is why Tracy Banks has lied about her identity, has stolen mine, and she was at 60 years old trying to act like she was me. She didn't even look like me when she was 25. She didn't have my body. She didn't have my skill set. She didn't have my education level. She didn't have my, she doesn't conduct herself like me. She doesn't behave like me. She isn't, she's been a whore. She's been engaged in incest. She's been engaged in all manner of perverted sexual activity because she's a demon engaging in these satanic practices. And I am the one that is different. I am not a part of this satanic ritualistic conduct. This is the entity, and this is also why I was chosen and left wealth. This is why I was chosen and spiritually gifted. This is why the government has, if the question is, because it's not the question as if the government is targeting me, it's the question as to why, and this is why. Regarding also who I am in the spirit, these are demons that are targeting someone, not only spiritually. What they're doing physically is letting you know what they're doing spiritually. These are demons that are monitoring me in the spirit. Meaning every thought, everything that I'm doing when I'm sleeping, they're sitting there hovering over me in the spirit, watching, and the spiritual realm is real, okay? Now, for those of you that are ignorant to that, you're witnessing a physical prosecution with tangible evidence. And that will lead you into what is the reality of the spiritual realm. Because this is why the government just randomly picks someone to gang stalk them for no reason. No, the government does that against those who they know have authority in the spirit and who are spiritually monitoring them. And while they are physically stalking and targeting them. And when you are spiritually targeting somebody that's not a criminal, someone that is perfectly sane, someone that is advanced and spiritually gifted to the degree that they know that you're a demon and can expose the kingdom of darkness, that's engaging in criminal activity with which I will prosecute with tangible evidence. Those are the demons that are engaging in what is kidnapping, doing so through the U.S. military, doing so through the law enforcement agencies, the corrupt executive branch in the United States, engaging in what is not only surveillance, but then criminal activity that they project onto the targeted individual that has broken no laws and is not violating any laws where they're under surveillance. You don't have any authority under the municipal code. You're not getting a police call from the people of the state about the targeted individual. You don't have probable cause, reasonable suspicion. You're engaging in surveillance, and you plucked me as a child from my home to the United States to keep me under surveillance. And now you have a population of vagina monitors, lesbians, and equally homosexuals, because they do this with men as well. Males that are under surveillance like I am, a whole bunch of homosexuals that are demon-possessed, that also have sex with boys, engage in what are monitoring the genitalia of males. These are demons. They don't have an actual sexual identity. They have sex with anything, anyone, including children, including those of the same gender, including animals. While they call it witchcraft, and I'm prosecuting them with regard to their demented behavior, and it shall be prosecuted and identified for purposes of diagnosing it. And these are facts. These are facts. The entity is engaged in targeting me. What's on video regarding the Ontario police is evidence to disband that agency, but that agency is acting in conformity to what this United States engaged in, which is kidnapping a child. And I am one that is exposing what the United States government has done as a kidnapping, trafficking, sex trafficking ring. It's a syndicate. This is a criminal system that's occurring across nations. And they're doing so with demons like Tracy Banks, who had a lot. This high school whore, this is a high school graduate who has no education. She is an ignoramus. She is nothing other than an expert at spreading her legs wide eagle, okay? That's what she's an expert at. I'm not exaggerating. I'm letting you know she could not have done this without the government, and it's the government that I'm documenting and prosecuting. She is a common whore, a Jezebel spirit, and she targeted me, stealing my identity, and she is one that is entirely ignorant and could never explain what it is that I've laid out with regard to even the evidence to prosecute. Let alone never going to college, never going to law school, never gaining a Juris Doctor, never gaining any sort of expertise regarding what demons are doing, how they are monitoring us, and how you are aware of it even in the environment that defies nature, where they are exposing also at the same time what you are also aware of, that they are severely mentally unstable, which you can see it in what they're doing, in the area that they're doing it, and to whom they are doing it. Tracy Banks could never. She is merely the demon that the United States government used to kidnap me, to keep custody of me, to permit the government to keep my vagina under surveillance everywhere that I live since I was a child, and also defaming me, which is necessary in order for Tracy Banks to try to keep a cord connected to me where she has been receiving money and wealth that belonged to me that was stolen from me when I was kidnapped by the government and moved to the United States, where I do not know anyone and I don't have any actual family. They have been engaged in stealing from me with this military that's engaged in surveillance and stalking me. And the entity is doing so while Tracy Banks uses defamation as a means of, oh, I have power of attorney, oh, I have a conservatorship. This is how the government is still engaging what is theft through Tracy Banks, via Tracy Banks, through the people of the state. They've made all types of criminal acts against me. Fraud, identity theft, insurance policies by the gang stalkers themselves, false allegations regarding criminal acts that I know nothing about, but I do know that it's out there. So you are talking about what will be exposed in the federal case against the United States government and against those that are even outside of the U.S., against those that are celebrities, against those that are holding office, that are interested in my demise, because they are going to be put in federal prison for this criminal system that the United States government is engaging in to date. The entity is engaging in what is maintaining these criminal acts against me, stating that I'm a criminal somewhere out there. The entity has claimed that I committed criminal acts, and this is why the government's keeping me under surveillance. While it's not an investigation, I'm documenting what they're doing. All they're doing is stalking me. So the entity, the government's P.O.C. is to claim that you're a criminal, claim that you're mentally ill somehow, and that's the evidence. Why are you here? Oh, I'm here because we're investigating Erica Lorraine Spencer. But it's actually not, you're not investigating by stalking me in helicopters. They never once are asking me questions. Where were you on the night of July 17th, 2002? Were you at this person's house where they were killed and they also were burglarized? Nobody's asking me any questions about an alleged crime. The entity is gang stalking me. The government's pattern of conduct is to keep you under surveillance, gang stalk you, use all manner of resources doing so. We're engaging in surveillance and investigation using the helicopters, using the planes, using the police department in this city where this defendant, this suspect is under investigation. And this is the entity that the entire time is engaging in surveillance of a child that they kidnapped back in the 80s and is engaged in what is keeping a paper trail. That is an admission, because the entity is engaging in public corruption in plain sight. So the government makes explanations as to why they are spending this money, as to why they're using these resources, as to what they are doing, when in fact all they're doing is gang stalking. And you and I, all of you who are listening, know very well you are not investigating anything while you're flying in circles over me by helicopter. But the entity provides a paper trail, because the entity, the military, the police, the heliport is providing what is a paper trail regarding those who are conducting no such investigation. All right, you're engaged in kidnapping me for claiming that I'm a child molester, and nobody asked me any questions about molesting children ever. They engaged in kidnapping me, and they engaged in gang stalking me at that hospital, where that hospital was engaging in the pattern of conduct, knowing exactly who I am, knowing that I was kidnapped, and engaging in their role in the United States government system to maintain a paper trail. They're creating, engineering an environment while they're gang stalking, and they're also engineering a paper trail, a record, whereby the entity intends to commit kidnapping and ultimately murder that typically occurs inside of the facilities, such as hospitals, where you are kept against your will, where they're drugging you when there's absolutely nothing wrong with you, where they're raping you and no one is going to listen to you because you're mentally ill, where they're kidnapping you for crimes you did not commit, pursuant to stalking, not an investigation, stalking that I'm showing you what it looks like, stalking in planes and helicopters, stalking as police officers that are claiming that they're there for X, Y, and Z when you're looking at the pattern of conduct. And they still aren't talking about an alleged crime that the people of the state claim that you committed back in 2014, that nobody has ever uttered anything about, but it's sitting on the record. Because that's what they do with regard to explaining away why they're spending this money, while they're using those resources, what they're doing in that city. The entity has left a trail of evidence over the years, gang stalking me. You are never conducting an investigation by stalking, because that's what they're doing in helicopters all night long. All they're doing is stalking, not asking any questions, seeking to find a way that they can commit what is kidnapping again, because they seek to obstruct justice. Okay? That's the entity that's engaged in that. I want to make sure that that is clear. This is an entity that engaged in that, and the entity is at what is 2:20 p.m. stalking. All right. So this is the entity. I want to go ahead and show you this image right quick. Hold on. The entity is stalking by commercial airline plane. Stalking by commercial airline plane, as you can hear the plane activity. And is doing so at what is 2:21 p.m. flying over the same, you saw it on video actually. So what I have against the Ontario Police is what I've had for years, but they're literally on video doing it. They're doing cartwheels over the city hall in the background while this demon is in my face pacing back and forth. Oh, I'm here because we got a call that you were yelling. Me of all people. Okay, he knows who I am, knows what I look like. Of course he does, because he's actually engaged in surveillance, and the entity is engaging in this while the entity is stalking. And at 2:20 p.m., it's now 2:21 p.m., where the entity is on video stalking with the Ontario Police Department, okay? Doing so outside of what's published regarding actual takeoffs, but you already know that they're not headed to a destination and there's nobody on the plane when the military is flying it up in the air and dipping down and making a U-turn and flying back in the opposite direction. There's no passengers on that plane. That's the military stalking with the Ontario Police, who share in the kidnapping that was committed back in the 80s when I was a baby. And that the entity is still engaging what is keeping me under surveillance to date regarding what it is that I'm exposing, especially while I'm conducting this ongoing investigation. And the entire Ontario Police Department is being disbanded for it. It is terrorism while the government commits kidnapping and then engages in what is abusing its position to engage in surveillance in the United States of a child that it kidnapped from on the opposite side of the globe, in order to permit a high school graduate, a common whore, a thug, a common petty thief like Tracy Banks, to try to act like she could even act like she's me. She can only do that if you are deaf, dumb, and mute. Okay? Because you're talking about someone that is under no circumstances anything like me, and she certainly doesn't look like me. I don't look like I'm 60 anything. I don't even look like I'm 40. Okay? And I don't want to get into trying to critique anybody, but this is just the fact. Okay, she is a haggard geezer who's engaging in what is witchcraft and having sex with young people, and she thinks that that's going to keep her young. No, it keeps you infected with HIV. That's what it does. And it spreads to her co-defendants, who are gang stalking me as well. Okay, these sex cult members of the Ontario Police Department, these sex cult members of the U.S. military, these sex cult members that are pacing around me under the fake sun, claiming that they called you and that's why you're here, pacing with Southwest Airlines. That's engaging what is stalking under the fake sun, that's still at the same address that it was during the 7 a.m. hour. Really? All right, no, Tracy Banks cannot hold a candle to the one that she kidnapped and whose identity she stole. And this is why the government has been engaging in what is keeping me under surveillance, lying about the fact that I'm dead, while the entity has cashed out on insurance policies. And so I just want to be clear. Do not get lost in the trees. The entity that is stalking, as I'm documenting it, what you heard, that plane activity, that was at 2:20 p.m., the entity is maintaining the pattern of conduct and is doing so. And the entity is doing so while they are stalking with commercial planes serially outside of what is published on the, even outside of what's published on the Ontario International website. Okay, so I did capture a screenshot, and the screenshot of, just to give you an example, about the published flights, and then you're looking at what the military is doing with these same commercial airline companies that are engaging in what, oh, sure, you can use those planes. Go ahead and stalk the target individual. The Ontario International Airport, every airport in the country, every airport in the state of California is engaged in surveillance, okay? That's what the United States is engaged in. This is what the U.S. does. This is why you have what are kidnappings that are occurring and with regard to children that are gifted. This is how an entity is persecuting children of God, okay? Those who are anointed, those who are wealthy, and they don't even know it. They're born into poverty, and that's deliberate, while a whole government and a whole population steals from them. And that's what Tracy Banks has done and permitted to happen to her. I am still her relative, but there is probable cause to suspect, and there needs to be a DNA test because Tracy Banks is not my biological mother. All right, but under all circumstances, she has multiple personalities. She's been mentally ill. She's been one that is very, very sick, engaging what is permitting the government, permitting all manner of males, females, all manner of adults, the population, to keep me and my genitalia under surveillance. Absolutely no privacy, okay? And the entities engaged in the P.O.C., which you see on video under the fake sun, doing so while the entity is literally engaged in the psychopathic pacing with the Ontario police, the psychopathic pacing with the demons of the city of Ontario, stalking with lighting. They literally engaged in it right in front of you, like they've been doing. I document that all the time. They literally did that in that video while you're hearing simultaneously an Ontario Police Department stalker lie about the purpose for their presence, okay? Now, of course, they're not going to state, I'm targeting you and you are an interest of the state because you are being targeted and we need to make sure that you're dead because also they've stolen my wealth and spent it. They don't want to pay me back, and they also don't want to pay me what they owe me. They're just sitting on my money and wealth while you're still stalking. You're still stalking and you're just holding on to my money. There's no court hearing to be had. The only thing to be done is to deliver my money and property to me and stop stalking me. And this is what the United States government refuses to do. And that refusal is also denoted by the stalking by the Ontario Police Department, who, when they are documented engaging in that P.O.C., they pull out a lie out of their back pocket. And the lie is not based on the fact that he can pull up a record of the people of the state calling. Oh, that's what they do. The lie is proven by the fact of the fake sun that's here since 7 a.m. and it's still over me while I'm documenting that during the 1 p.m. hour, where they're doing so with the same city of Ontario who are stalking with light activity in the morning, and they're stalking conspicuously with that department during the 1 p.m. hour, where they're monitoring with that department that's relevant to prison. You're going to prison automatically. Gang stalking as the corrupt executive branch that's engaging in surveillance of the United States that's engaging in kidnapping children, taking them from where they are familiar, where they're born, killing their relatives, and then stealing the inheritance, stealing that wealth from a child. That's what the cowards of the United States military have done. They're engaged in terrorism, not protecting American citizens. They're engaged in gang stalking with the people of the state. They're engaged in terrorism with that population, okay? So it's 2:27 p.m. I want to go over that because this is what I documented earlier. And the entity that's monitoring on my device, that entire recording, which was over 2 hours. But that's fine because I still have the evidence. You're looking at the specific environment. I'm just documenting this overweight, double chin demon, this male, Latino male that's engaging in the P.O.C. stalking under the side of the library. The same side of the library is where the Ontario police are. That was during the 9 a.m. That was 9:47. 9, 10, 11, 4 hours later is where the Ontario police are at the same location stalking. And then you're listening to the malice. That's the same malice. The entity is engaging in what is not only violating my privacy as millions of people violating my privacy at once. Doing so because they're interested in stealing my wealth. Doing so while they are obviously overtly stalking as an airport, okay? The absurdity of what they're doing in the planes, and they're doing it on video. And then you're looking at the face of that demon in vehicle 119. Vehicle 119 was stalking under the fake sun in the morning, which is right over here on the opposite side of the same library. The one that I analyzed under the law, this is the entity that's engaged in that pattern of conduct. He's already going to prison if that was him in that vehicle, and I have reason to suspect that that's the same vehicle 119. He's going to prison. He knows exactly who I am by virtue of my evidence of the P.O.C., but he also knows who I am because the United States government's engaged in surveillance. Not only surveillance of children that the government kidnaps and brings to the United States to keep them under surveillance, to systematically steal from them as a population, and then ultimately kill them after they're done stealing from them, but the entity also does so while you are being documented. This is a psychopath lying about why you're in my face. You're in my face because I embarrassed you documenting you yesterday. I prosecuted him in a video. And you're talking about in the middle of the afternoon while you're on the south side of the same library and you're stalking with the military that's providing, they're testifying against you while they're stalking by flying over the city hall and doing cartwheels over that city hall in the background under the fake sun. While the same city of Ontario employees are stalking in the path with light, the same position that it was on video at 9:40 in the morning. This is the entity that's gang stalking. You're not engaging in anything other than that pattern of conduct, and this is the entity that is very much triggered, and this is what you need to know. The city of Ontario is letting you know not only are they engaged in surveillance, not only are they gang stalking, they are gang stalking as one that is engaged in kidnapping with the United States government. Tracy Banks is one that is leading in this because she is a relative, not my biological mother, who again has engaged in what is conspiring my murder, engaged in what is necessarily defaming my character in order to keep what is a financial core to me because I've been an adult and there is no other reason why she would be still stealing my money, because that's what it was from the beginning. She was not intending to take care of me, not intending to give me that which I inherited from my relatives being murdered. Tracy Banks engaged in what is that murder of my relatives, and then stealing my money even as an adult, and then doing so via the criminal and fraudulent misuse of devices through the gang stalking courts, the courts that are kidnapping with the monitoring spirits of the Ontario Police, this whole entity, that's the one that's engaged in the targeting system, is how Tracy Banks is accomplishing what is criminal defamation, lying about my character in order to get a power of attorney, lying about my character in my absence while I'm in college, while I'm in law school, while I'm out living my life and taking care of myself, suffering no mental illness. And where this entity that's targeting, you don't have, and it's legally irrelevant, you're not going to look into whether they're actually mentally ill, and then that makes it okay for the government to stalk you in helicopters. That's not how that works. At all. That's not how that works. And that is retroactively trying to render, that does not make it legitimate. That is literally the criminal activity of the government. Tracy Banks can never make right the lies that she has stated, and lies that were echoed by those that have conspired with her against me and my wealth. And it is shared by those who know exactly who I am, the United States, the people of the state that are targeting in the state of California. Stealing from Erica Spencer specifically know who I am. That's why the fake son is that this is your knowledge about their knowledge. This is how they are engaging in targeting as demons in the U.S. Demons who have incentive to target. You are not a nobody. They are not minding their business. They are not strangers. They're violent sex offenders who are desperate thieves, who engage in far out and expensive methods. They will invest millions into targeting you in order to steal billions. And that's exactly what has been accumulated with regard to the entity that stole my wealth. You're talking about back in the 80s, into the 90s, into the early 2000s, to 2010s, we're into the 2020s. You're talking about a lot of income, a lot of interest, a lot of property, a lot of theft, okay, that the entity has accrued. And you're talking about what is a long-term investment in my murder, because now I'm exposing the kidnapping that this entity committed while I was a baby. And this is a system, a criminal ring that is committed by the government, that is using, the United States is using the military to commit kidnappings and theft of identity in order to steal wealth that they share amongst those that are constituents of the state, those that are a part of that pattern of conduct, billionaires that own companies that are engaging in surveillance, that are invested in the demise of people like me. And you don't have to believe me as I say it, because the P.O.C. proves it. There's no other reason why you would be targeting me, who on the surface is minding her own business. I'm not even interested in social media. I'm not interested in social media. I am remaining in school, in the books, studying most of the time. All right. And this is an entity that's been gang stalking the entire time, my entire life. And Tracy Banks and Eric Spencer are violent sex offenders. Tommy Allen Banks, violent sex offenders. Keeping a young woman like myself, and you're a sex offender while I'm an adult woman, but keeping me as a little girl, my vagina, they're interested in as pedophiles. Stalking, monitoring, stealing, while keeping my wealth close to their chest, stealing my money and not giving it to me, and doing it through defaming me. And they are still stalking. That's what you see the Ontario Police doing. Lying out of their face. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 2:33 p.m. Alrighty, I just want you to see what is the entity that's stalking by helicopter, okay? This is the military that's stalking while I'm walking on crossing the street and following me as I'm walking down the street. And you also know that they're following me because this is the fake sun that's over me. And so are they. That's prison. 4XAV 749. Engaged in kidnapping with the government that's keeping the child that they kidnapped in the 80s under surveillance after having stolen my wealth. and is engaged in what is conspiring my murder by gang stalking to date in 2026. This is the entity that's doing so while I'm also exposing that population that is in the United States maintaining surveillance, including with demon-possessed children, who are the entity that procreate and maintain surveillance via the people of the state who are giving birth to gang stalking demons. 7K SV123. This is where I'm at in the morning when I'm leaving the town square in the military, the same one that's stalking in helicopter right now, under a fake sun at the same intersection, which is coming up on 325 B Street, where the fake church is, and the fake sun is over me in the morning. And this is the illusion where you're looking at in the morning from this vantage point, where they're stalking with light activity, just like the yellow vehicle is here. This is what they're doing in the morning, the peculiarized light under the fake sun during the 7 a.m., 6 a.m. hour. This is what they're doing at this end while they're engaging in surveillance. I took a picture of them already. They're stalking at the opposite end, following literally traditional stalking is what this is, while they're engaging in gang stalking with the entity that's prison. While they're doing so on behalf of the entity, these are kidnappers. The United States government's engaged in kidnapping, and so is the population. And they engage in terrorism while they do it. It's literally gang violence. And during the 7 a.m. hour, the fake sun is over me in alignment to me while I'm at this venue, Rock of Faith, where the people of the state are engaged in surveillance where they live. They maintain ongoing establishments, maintain place of residency. They maintain traffic. They maintain all manner of presence like gang stalkers on bicycles under the fake sun, where I'm also here after 4 p.m. and I'm here during the 7 a.m. hour where the fake sun is over me, where the entity is also stalking by helicopter. That's stalking 9 RIZ 117 with demons on their devices. See the fake sun? These are demons. License plate, stalking. All of them stalking. The entity is stalked by helicopter with the people of the state. It's a cooperative effort, 8JUZ315. And the entity engages in gang stalking while they kidnap you as a child, and doing something weird to them like gang stalking is supposed to distract you from reporting. It's supposed to defame you and preclude you from being able to be taken seriously while they're gang stalking. And all I've shown you is that the entity that is gang stalking is exposing how criminal, how corrupt, and how psychopathic they are, how mentally deranged they are. That's what the entity, but the purpose of gang stalking is to do something so weird and creepy and demonic and deranged to you that you are not able to even cope and function with life, and hopefully you are it's designed to cause you to kill yourself. The entity is engaging in federal group stalking monitoring with minors. They're doing so in this same neighborhood where I document all their license plates. The demons that's typically gang stalking in the black Jeep, the white male that's sitting in the front, gang stalking on this curb in the morning, doing so engaging in surveillance, stalking with light activity in the middle. This is the same street during the 7 a.m. hour. It's after 2 o'clock right now. It's 3:39 p.m. And this is the entity that's gang stalking when I then go to what is Vine Avenue. I'm going to show you the entity that was stalking by helicopter before. You just saw it right now on video. The entity is stalking while I'm documenting all these license plates. This is the entity that is stalking as a population. The fake sun is moving in real time, and the entity is engaging what is gang stalking me while they are stalking by helicopter. Okay, this is at B Street and Euclid. And the entity is engaging in that while they are, 1 second. Sorry, I had to turn the lighting up. You can see it's a screen recording. So the entity is engaged in this. This is at 3:33 p.m. And this video I am starting, and it's 3:40 p.m. So the entity's following me down the street the moment I start recording, and I'm documenting all the people in the state that are stalking as an entity. And I'm walking through the same neighborhood that I walk through in the morning, where the entity keeps a fake sun that's already supposedly rising at Stater Brothers, right? And so I'm approaching Stater Brothers. I'm approaching that shopping plaza while a population, a government is stalking me and doing so. And so is a government by helicopter that does the same thing at Stater Brothers under a fake sun that's already there ahead of schedule when I'm walking to that location now. This is the entity that's committing kidnapping. Don't be distracted by what the entity seeks to distract an American citizen with. It's not a distraction, it's an omission. All right, the government that's engaged in what is gang stalking you is gang stalking you because of some other criminal act that they've committed against you. And that being, they are the government. The government has engaged in what is targeting you in one way. And they're doing so because of criminal activity that they have engaged in, such as kidnapping you as a government, planting you, uprooting you, and taking you to a foreign country, which is the United States, where in the United States they keep you under surveillance. And this is what they're doing on this same intersection at HOLT and this is Vine, where the entity has the fake sun over me here. And this is the circumstance where they're stalking at this intersection with plane activity while they're doing the whole pattern of conduct where Kia's gang stalking at register number 1 inside of the Stater Brothers. They're pacing in the parking lot. The fake sun is remaining over me and then rising while I'm already at the Stater Brothers. It is 3:42 in the afternoon. and the fake son has yet to leave from remaining over me at the OVITT Family Community Library. This is stalking. VMA0AX, that's Arizona. All right, the entity is maintaining a statewide system. The United States of America, the U.S. military, is stalking in that plane, doing so under what is the evidence of surveillance, the fake son, and doing so in furtherance of murder because of kidnapping that the government committed, and doing so through in concert with those such as Tracy Banks, who assumed my identity as a child and stole millions of dollars from me and lied and also stated that I was dead. I never died, and I've been documenting this criminal system, and this criminal system the government is still engaging in. And gang stalking me is not distracting away from that criminal conduct. Tracy Banks was never in any situation or circumstance or position to steal my money, because that's all it is, defaming me and claiming while you're gang stalking like this with this government that you have power of attorney through what is necessarily defaming my character. This is the P.O.C. And the criminal activity of the government is putting Tracy Banks in federal prison. And the criminal activity of the people of the state, including Tracy Banks, is serving to have the U.S. military dishonorably discharged, prosecuted for treason, and also you're talking about involuntary commitments in federal prison. Because this is why they're doing so, and defaming an American citizen while you are stalking, which this evidence has already proven. I'm giving you context as to why they're gang stalking, because they stole millions of dollars from me. And it turns out in 2026, you're talking about more than millions, okay? This is the entity that's engaged in that, and this is what the United States of America is engaged in. They uproot you, take you from other foreign countries, and bring you to the United States, where they keep you under surveillance until they murder you, until they're done stealing from you. And they do this to children. That's what the government's doing. This is the P.O.C. That's the military that's doing so. All right, that's the P.O.C. They're stalking with the military that's stalking a helicopter right now. 7 Paul 34103, prison. 8 VRW 711, prison. They come to the United States. They can't even speak English, and they're keeping me under surveillance and furtherance of murdering me, seeking to steal from me. And the United States government permits immigrants to come to the U.S. to keep us under surveillance. That's what this is about. And the evidence of that is the P.O.C., the fake sun documentation, which is proof of surveillance. That supernatural environment. The sun is already here at 7. It's not going to be here at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Moreover, it's over me at 3 in the afternoon. And then you have this ass entity of obviously stalking. Plain stalking, obvious stalking. This is the entity that engaged in kidnapping. They kidnapped me in the 80s. They uprooted me, brought me to the United States. Tracy Banks lied and said that she's my biological mother. She stole my identity, stole my money, and then engaged in theft via criminal defamation. She has no power of attorney, never did, lied on my character, and everything, by the way, that she accused me of is something that she is guilty of. She's a drug addict, she's a prostitute, she's a fraud, she's a criminal, she is severely mentally ill as well. This is the P.O.C. It is currently under the fake sun at the Ontario Village Shopping Center, 3:45 p.m. Everybody inside the state of Brothers is going to prison. It's not just surveillance, it's kidnapping that these businesses are engaging in. Every plane, every grocery store, every transit line, every train on the railroad track, every neighborhood, every apartment complex, every coffee shop, every license plate, every city, county, and state. This is the P.O.C. that's going to compensate for what is an unsuccessful murder, trying to cover up kidnapping that the government engages in by gang stalking me. Gang stalking, in other words, is the government. Now that you've survived kidnapping and we stole from you and you're trying to expose us, we're going to gang stalk you. In other words, we're going to do something weird and creepy to you, something that's unbelievable, and that's supposed to drive you crazy. And it's also to make witnesses think that you are crazy as well when you try to contend what they've done to you. None of that is working. It's not designed for somebody that is superior to creatures. It only works against them. They're demons. They can't deal with facts. Okay? And this is a fact-based investigation, and I am the subject of kidnapping and loss of wealth. And they are engaged in stalking me in planes and helicopters, which is not going to cover it up. It speaks to why. They're flying next to the fake sun. This is the P.O.C. The State of Brothers employees are going to prison. David Quinones and everybody working at that grocery store. I'm going to prosecute multi-million-dollar companies such as Southwest Airlines and Amazon Prime. I'm going to prosecute United Airlines. I'm going to prosecute UPS and FedEx. I'm going to prosecute the Ontario International Airport, the terrorists that are over that venue. I'm going to prosecute and take over corrupt transit lines such as Omnitrans, the entity that's gang stalking through a population who are going to compensate any American citizen, and they're going to compensate me. In addition to what is the entity itself, the government that's going to compensate me. They're coming out of their pockets, and I'm going to prosecute them, and they're compensating me. This is the P.O.C. This is the fake sun moving west over me while they're driving east. Going at the speed that I'm going while they're accelerating. This is the entity that is targeting. And I'm already here in the morning. This is where I'm at in the morning, on that side of the street where the fake sun remains. It's on the opposite side of the street, over me. They're going to prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently 3:47 p.m. where the fake sun is remaining in Ontario. It is nowhere near Upland, California. You know what that means for Joy and Adam Tuckerman and Carissa and Alyssa and the other Alyssa and Elizabeth and Sheena and the Upland police? You know what that means? They're going to prison. This is kidnapping that they engage in. Kidnapping and stealing my entire life, including my money, and they're going to prison for it. Gang stalking is not the solution. It's the admission by the government. They're admitting as to why they engaged in targeting. That's the P.O.C. All right, the entity is gang stalking license 8 Xavier Wendy Frank 915 included. Latina female at Superior Grocer. Impossible Light moves all across Superior Grocer. She's a terrorist. She's a demon. And she's a demon that is occupying criminal presence on behalf of the U.S. military. Demons that are engaged in the business of kidnapping children, sex trafficking them, stealing from them. They're particularly focused on children that have inheritance that come from wealthy bloodlines and whose relatives, the government is murdering them and then stealing those children, kidnapping them and taking them across the world, like what the entity did to me, taking me to the United States. That's engaging in surveillance. What you'll see in the images as I arrive at the venue of Spin Laundry under the fake sun, this is, again, the fake church that's engaging what is providing assistance to the homeless out of being the hands and feet of Christ. All this evidence is relevant, not only criminal activity. Yes, they're engaging in the pattern of conduct. They're gang stalking. They're under the fake sun. They're stalking in the path. They're saying and doing whatever as they do that. But you need to understand that this is exposing what are the faces of the devil, okay? And he is cloaking himself as one that is religious, which is not the same as one that actually knows Christ. That's how religious people that are gang stalking me in a fake church are able to engage in smiling, looking me dead in my face while the entity is flying over by helicopter, stalking, terrorizing, psychologically torturing me, and doing so threatening me while you call yourself conducting a church service. That's how they're able to do that, because of what is wrong with them psychologically and their criminal pattern of conduct. The relevant evidence regarding the gang stalkers that are targeting me at the fake churches, amongst the homeless. You're hungry and dirty and homeless, and you're stalking somebody else. That's because they are in the United States of all economic levels, engaging in their surveillance. There's no exception. And there's no exception inside of the doors of a fake church. There is no exception. This is relevant evidence to showing you how cold-blooded, okay, how psychopathic, how far-reaching, how extreme, how limitless and ceaseless the pattern of conduct is. I'm being gang stalked at the fake church as well. And that's to educate you, to inform. It's relevant evidence that the courts are paying attention to. This is proof to you that the entity is indeed guilty of the unfathomable charges that have been levied against the government. And that's based on the evidence of me being targeted even at a church where they utter the name of Jesus. And it's supposed to be different there, but it's not. This is letting you know about what the entire population is engaging in, why the government is engaging, what are kidnapping children, taking them from other parts of the world and bringing them to the United States. The entire country is engaged in the surveillance system, and it's demonic. Okay? This demonic feature is relevant to what is psychopathic, cold-blooded, very much detached from any sort of conscience. They don't feel any type of way about targeting, okay? And this is what the entity does. Are you open? Are you open? Anybody? Are you open? Oh, okay. This is what an entity is doing with regard to, are these on sale? Is this on sale? 99 cents?
Yeah, but you have to get certain amount.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. Well, I know these are 2 for $4.
Regular price is
Okay. This is regular, yeah. So the entity's P.O.C. is that they're engaging in targeting, and that's what's happening while I'm walking, approaching, and talking to those that are with the same church that are engaged in paying for your laundry. 1 second. All right. Gracias. So I'm documenting the pattern of conduct as the entity is flying. First of all, you're looking at the mental illness that's exhibited by virtue of the crime scene you're looking at in the picture. The fake sun is hovering over me at 815 West HOLT, okay? And that's at the end of the day where I am at this end of Holt Boulevard in the morning at 7 a.m. Not only that, the the demons of the U.S. military are stalking, and they're stalking me in concert with the entity that is under the guise of, what about it? Under the guise of what is providing what are services to aid the homeless. You're gang stalking me. They're not interested in helping the homeless. And while they have a conversation with me, it's interrupted by the plane activity. This is the military targeting me with those that are paying to clean my laundry. Those are the same ones that are providing a hot meal on Friday for free, and they're gang stalking. I'm subject to the pattern. Have you recognized the pattern? I'm being stalked by helicopters that are flying over my head at the St. George Catholic Church. I'm being stalked by helicopters at Bethel Congregation while the entity is flying in circles over my head. I'm being gang stalked by the entity flying in circles over my head at the Methodist Church at the I Street and Euclid Avenue intersection under the fake sun. Okay, both when those demons are inside providing a free hot meal, which is a threat to my safety, and this is again a threat to their liberty. The entity that's engaged in this is a fake church that engaged in kidnapping. That's why they're gang stalking with the military. This is an entity that's engaging in that. That's why they are targeting, because they are engaged in, invested in, interested in accomplishing kidnapping and murder. Okay, that's why the fake sun is over that fake church. And this is what the entity's doing at Spin Laundry. You will see the entity flying over, hovering. The fake sun is right there. They're flying right next to the fake sun. These are mentally ill demons that maintain a fake church. And that's where I'm at right now. And that is informing you about malice. There is no exception here. This is P.O.C. It's currently 4:06 p.m. Alright, it is currently, you can see the current time, it's 5:18 p.m. and this is across the street from Starbucks. This is the same location where I'm at 7 in the morning, and you see the entity that's stalking and is forced to expose itself as demons who are stalking, not just stalking, but engaged in criminal monitoring, meaning they're mentally ill while they're stalking as an entity that commits kidnapping, and then uproots children that they kidnap to steal from, sexually violates them, stalks them as a population under this environment, which is proof that they are all engaging in surveillance together and they're not strangers, and they are targeting a specific individual, including on the roads and the highways. And this is at 706 West Hope Boulevard, the Starbucks where I'm present, not only in the morning, but I'm referring to this very intersection where the entity is gang stalking by Southwest Airlines, Alaska Airlines, flying west over this street where I'm walking in the morning, where the fake sun is over me on this same street. And I'm reminding you about this very incident, this very pattern of conduct, where not only is the entity targeting as an airport, targeting in the sky space, targeting as you see something like a fake sun that's over the same Starbucks where the Ontario police are being disbanded for stalking. They're engaging in that conduct with a population who are demons and maintain a system of kidnapping children, stealing from them, even celebrities that are engaging in sharing and sex trafficking children, keeping them under surveillance, stealing from them, stealing their identities, stealing what are property, intellectual property even. And this is what is underway when you are under surveillance on the internet, when you're under surveillance comprehensively. Anything that you are thinking up and creating in your private home, it's not actually private. And this is how you are suffering what is theft of intellectual property that you haven't even had an opportunity to share with anyone else. This is how the entity has created movies about the targeted individual. This is how the entity has engaged in what is creating music, artistry that doesn't belong to them, while celebrities are demons monitoring in California with the gang stalking ghettos that are out here. Those gang stalking celebrities, those are ghettos also. Those are just demons, vagina monitors that the entity has put on a platform. They're all demons stalking on this same San Antonio Avenue in the morning. This fake sun is over me, and this is the video, and this is where I'm at that end, and I'm pointing down to this very location where I'm at. Stalking with impossible light. It's moving across. These are demons. 8YIF418. Demons are engaged in kidnapping across the globe internationally, and the United States brings children to California, where celebrities keep them under surveillance, where politicians steal and keep them under surveillance, where they're engaged in what is gang stalking. Gang stalking is the demonic pattern of conduct, which is criminal. It's inhumane under the law, and it is speaking to comprehensive surveillance of your physical person, down to your genitalia, in every location, including in bathrooms, where homosexual women and predatory males, equally sexually perverted, acting under corporate entities such as Starbucks, are keeping you under surveillance, and you already know this. This is why L. Edwards and the gang stalker El Caseta are gang stalking me with Starbucks at this same venue at 9 in the morning, engaging in what is the P.O.C. because I'm documenting and I'm maintaining this investigation where the demons are stalking through the drive-thru and impossible lights moving across the building, and the fake sun's over me while the Ontario police fill this parking lot. This is all evidence that's already on the record, while they engage in criminal summoning over and over again like they did this afternoon. Vehicle 119, he's going to prison. All right, gang stalking with the people of the state who are not making any legitimate phone call about the targeted individual to the police. They're engaged in criminal and monitoring them. It's called criminal summoning. This is the pattern of conduct. This is where Amazon Prime is stalking at 7 in the morning, hovering right over this restaurant, where everybody in that environment are not strangers. They're all stalkers. And this is the U.S. military and the terrorist leaders, the Osama bin Laden of the U.S. Air Force, the United States Air Force, the United States Marine Corps, the United States Army. Those terrorist leaders are going to prison. This is their criminal pattern of conduct. The highly unintelligent pattern of conduct where demons are fully exposed as stalkers, all right, engaging in the whole maintenance of a stalker society so that they can steal what is a life that doesn't belong to them, money that doesn't belong to them. While they are so mentally ill, they engage in this obvious criminal pattern of conduct under the fake sun. Is indeed the P.O.C, the entity that engaged in gang stalking, and they thought that that was going to obstruct justice, is the entity that's being involuntarily committed. This is the evidence speaking to Tracy Banks stealing my identity as a baby. Killing my relatives is what this U.S. government committed. And then they kidnapped me and brought me to the United States, where a whole bunch of demons, an entity, celebrities, politicians, people that I don't know, people that aren't even in the United States, are keeping my vagina under surveillance on the internet. Okay, and they're watching me prosecute them. And you're watching me sentence you. You're watching me expose you as demons. This is the P.O.C. On this very same street, during the 7 a.m. hour, I'm standing at this bus stop, and the Ontario police are conspicuously stalking on the roads and the highways at this intersection, stalking right in front of me, going right into this parking lot. That entire department's going to be disbanded, and they're going to prison. I documented all their license plates. They were engaging in conspicuous surveillance just like this, and this is where you're looking at that crime scene. You're going to look at that 7 a.m. video. You're going to look at this at 5:23 p.m., because that's where you're identifying the malicious pattern of conduct, while the demons of the military provide evidence against them doing a cartwheel in the sky space, where there's clearly no passengers on that plane that's not headed to a destination. They still haven't conducted a takeoff, and they're doing so while you are obviously guilty of the crimes alleged. They are mentally ill while they've engaged in this crime. They've murdered many children before me. The United States government has been engaged in stealing and sexually violating many, many children before me. All right, this is the P.O.C. And this entity is subject to martial law. This is the beast system. The beast system's been underway, and the entity is doing so while they're gang stalking the person that has been here to prosecute them. They're not sacrificing me, they just sacrifice themselves. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 5:24 p.m. at 706 West Holt Boulevard. And this is relevant evidence regarding when I'm walking to Upland, California, and the fake sun is remaining over the demons in the Upland Public Library at this time, not remaining in Ontario. But where it's remaining in Ontario, which is impossible, it's remaining over me in Ontario, speaking to targeting by an entire population, the entire state of California, as it's demonstrated at a single intersection in Ontario. This is P.O.C. Remember the lies that the Ontario police uttered this morning in vehicle 119 with Southwest Airlines that was stalking, okay, by a commercial. That's the military, the mentally ill homosexuals. Remember that bald-headed sex offender stalking me at the Ontario City Hall under the fake sun that is still over me 4 hours later in the same city? This is the entity that's engaged in that pattern of conduct. Don't forget who they are. Don't forget what's documented, because this is a body of evidence speaking to an elaborate, intricate crime, and every single last one of them are going to serve the consequences. This is P.O.C. This is terrorism. All right? This is the entity that was stalking me on the way to the laundromat by helicopter, and they're all gang stalking in concert with that same entity. This is the entity. This is how the military stalks you as a population, everywhere that you're going at all times, day and night. This is P.O.C. It is currently 5:25 p.m. What's over here across the street is the evidence of execution of the people of the state, where the fake sun rises also at Stater Brothers inside of the shopping center, where Delta Airlines, Southwest Airlines, Amazon Prime Air, FedEx, UPS, the entity stalking me using commercial planes. In this same environment where the fake sun is over me across the street, yeah, that's the prosecution of the U.S. government. All right, that's the P.O.C. The mentally ill, the demon-possessed are the ones that are stalking under a fake sun. They bring children and steal inheritances, steal their wealth, steal their identity, and sexually violate them, and then they murder them. The entity is engaged in gang stalking me, and now that I'm a grown adult, I'm here to prosecute them. And they thought that gang stalking me was going to silence me, because you're never supposed to believe that gang stalking is real. All right, that's the P.O.C. You see, it's very real. And you know what else is real? They're going to prison. That's real. P.O.C. Grabbing my phone, harassing inside of El Pollo Loco, and then telling them to call the police after they engage and try to snatch my property. This is the entity that's gang stalking. She's engaged in accusing me of touching her car. You see this car right here I took a picture of? Not touching it? And she's talking about she has me on camera. That's the entity that's monitoring. Oh, we're coming from the laundromat, gang stalking? We're coming all the way from the laundromat to engage in what is gang stalking? All right, did you get her gut? Pay attention to that, her waistline. That's the pattern of conduct. That's a P.O.C. Hi, I have a question. Did you witness them grab my phone?
Yeah, I took pictures too, so you're good, right? You need any help?
Well, I just wanted to get a drink, but they're grabbing my phone now, and you're talking about calling the police, so if you want to call...
We're good.
Well, why wouldn't you call the police when she tried to grab my property?
Already caught.
Oh, okay. Well, they're driving away now.
Just take a drink if you want.
All right, you're the one that was working in here talking about me being in the streets, right? Was that you? That was you in the morning under the fake sun, right? That was harassing me, talking about being in the streets with the cleaner. He was cleaning right here. It's on video under the fake sun. All right, thank you. Is it problematic if I get ice? Carlos? Yeah, this Carlos, he's got his own business. He was cleaning at El Pollo Loco, engaging in defamation, while the entity's engaged in what is harassing me inside El Pollo Loco. All right, remember that? He was talking about being in the streets. Remember that? Because the entity engages in defamation when they're gang stalking you. All right, this is the P.O.C. No, I'm not getting drinks, I'm just getting ice. But this is the entity that harasses you while you document them violating the law. This is the entity that engages in kidnapping children, and they're hostile because they're being exposed for that, sex trafficking children, coming into the restaurant lying like I'm touching her raggedy Honda Civic while I'm taking pictures of it, which is appropriately lawful, and he engaged in harassing me as well while he was being documented. This is El Pollo Loco. This is the, I just want to be clear, that was ongoing harassment, psychological torture, and a threat to commit criminal summoning. The Ontario police are stalking, so what are you calling them for? That's the P.O.C. I'm going to go ahead and document. I'm going to show you the fake sun. Alrighty, I want to show you that chaotic scene of the entity that's hostile to being documented. These are kidnappers. That's why it's so violent. All right, these are stalkers. These are sex offenders and pedophiles. And this is the fake sun where that employee, Carlos, had his olive green truck right here. And he was engaged in what is spray washing, power washing. And he engaged in what is holding up his phone, harassing me, stalking with the people who were in the parking lot. AYOOANT is the same entity that were stalking me with the demon that works in El Pollo Loco apparently, not just cleaning it in the morning and gang stalking, but he works there and is doing, engaging in the P.O.C, harassing me with the demons that are at the restaurant. This is an entity, this overweight demon that's engaging in what is making false allegation. I'm touching her car. Okay, this is the entity that's engaging in the pattern of conduct because it's unlawful to take because it's perfectly lawful rather to take a picture of your license plate. You're adding in, oh, I touched it. I'm taking pictures of what it is that I captured, and the entity is watching me while this entity is gang stalking me. Everything that they're falsely alleging, including the demon Carlos that's criminally defaming. You see the gang stalkers of the laundromat. They come in, engaging in what they're running in, monitoring. Where do they come from? All right, this is the entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct. This is harassment because you are documenting kidnappers, a sex trafficking ring, while they engage in this. And El Pollo Loco is being federally prosecuted. Everything that came out of those customers' mouths, they share together. And literally, Carlos is engaged in the pattern of conduct as an employee. All right, referring to the Ontario police, that's a threat. The Ontario police that you see on video stalking me with Southwest Airlines, with the military. This is the same P.O.C. All right, while they're engaging in that, these are the demons that are hostile because they're being exposed as sex traffickers, pedophiles, thieves, vagina monitors, gang stalkers, demons who engage in that pattern of conduct. And this is all into the guy. Play this one right here, because this is all El Pollo Loco. Stalking with Delta Airlines. The 5 p.m. fake sun. Carlos is standing right here in the morning, defaming me. The demon possessed that are gang stalking, that are going to prison, they think that if they try to defame you on camera, such as stating that I'm outside, I'm in the streets rather, while they have stolen my money, my identity, because they're envious of me. 9XW8355 shares in that envy. That's why she's stalking. Engaging in the pattern of conduct, grabbing my property, making false allegations, while then you engage in what is admitting that you're monitoring. Okay, this is the P.O.C. The entity is engaging in this at El Pollo Loco. This is, I would just want to be clear, this is actually the entity speaking while one demon is engaging in that. And regardless of taking pictures, you've got a camera in your phone. So then a camera in your car, then your camera would capture the fact that I didn't touch your car. So you're making, nor do I want to. These are demons that are obsessed with me and want to make it seem as though I'm the one that's concerned about them. I'm documenting them because you're stalking me. Okay, this is the entity that's engaging that. Carlos is the one that's going to prison. He engaged in defamation on camera. He's monitoring while they're pacing in and out of the restaurant. The entity is gang stalking Delta Airlines, Southwest Airlines, pacing beside. There is no natural environment where you are under the fake sun. You are only under the fake sun, and there's no natural environment where the light source would be here, where Carlos is under that light source right here at the same address. It is the P.O.C. And that is speaking to the fact you're witnessing the entity is lying. Oh, I'm trying to touch your little $2,000 car, Honda Civic, whatever that little piece of crap is. It's a sedan, probably a used one. And this is, again, a puffy gang stalker. that is concerned about me. All right? She's fluffy. She's very fluffy. She's engaged in the pattern of conduct. And she's a gang-stalking lesbian. All right? She's under the fake sun. She's a lying demon. And she's monitoring with Delta Airlines. This is audible activity while 9XWA355 is monitoring. License 9BZX213 is monitoring. The entity is gang-stalking. El Pollo Loco is monitoring. On the roads and the highways. Okay? Starbucks is monitoring. Spins Laundry is right across the street on the opposite side. They're all monitoring together and they engaged in documented harassment. Corporate entities like El Pollo Loco shall compensate for everything that just came out of their mouth, which is harassment as the guise of audible activity. Okay? The Ontario Police are not a police department, and every time the entity refers to them, you're going to prison. Okay? I documented the demons in those civic, they're going to prison. He grabs my phone while I am engaging what is taking a picture while you're harassing me because so what, I took a picture. Moreover, you're gang stalking. I'm absolutely going to take your picture. Okay, this is the end, but I just want to be clear, under normal circumstances where there's no gang stalking, so what, somebody takes a picture of your car, and in fact, you have a camera in your car, that's great for you. That camera will show that nothing happened to your vehicle. Because in fact, if something happened to your vehicle, you would have stepped outside right then and there while it was in the midst of being scratched or whatever it is that you're claiming that happened. This is an entity that's engaging in the pattern of conduct, and being fat and being rude and loud is not evidence that you're telling the truth. It is occurring under the fake sun where El Pollo Loco is gang stalking. This fluffy demon is engaging in the P.O.C. while she's worried about me, worried about my vagina, instead of worrying about her oversized waistline. That's just the truth. All right, and this is why you're spending millions of dollars stalking Delta Airlines. This is literally the evidence. This is literally the evidence. This is the P.O.C. Right? They uttered Ontario Police. They're going to prison. All right, Ontario Police, that's supposed to be a threat. That's what they did at the library today after I documented the gang stalking milk dud. The demon that's wearing a suit that's monitoring my vagina and going to the city hall in a black van to do so, tracking my steps. The entity that's engaging in what is stalking me with Southwest Airlines at the Ontario Civic Center under the fake sun. The entity engages in what is stalking conspicuously by the police that's supposed to threaten you. It is reasonably harassing. It is psychological torture, but it doesn't work on me. They're going to prison for it. Okay, everything they just said were not only audible activity to monitor. While there's no sun remaining in the window of Omnitrans, it's remaining stationary over me, which is what I'm subject to aboard Omnitrans. The entity is engaging in what is hostility, harassment, ongoing false allegations because they are hostile while they're being documented, because they're a bunch of stalking vagina monitors, overweight as well, okay? This fluffy one speaking to, engaging in what is a battery, grabbing my phone, and then telling them to call the police on me while you grab my phone. This is the entity. I want to be clear. If I do what they do, first of all, they would have a mud pie stumped in their face. But if I do what they did, the police would already be here. Okay? The entity is engaging, and that's why they're going to prison for it. I documented that license plate, everything that she said. She's engaged in what is starting an argument. The employees are monitoring to that, and they play what is referee, but not really, because they immediately, oh, if you don't stop, then I'm gonna have to call the police, and they're monitoring with the demons that are in the restaurant, and they're doing so maliciously under the fake sun. And that's why when you are referring to the gang stalkers themselves of the Ontario Police, where you are stalking literally at El Pollo Loco with Amazon Prime, Delta Airlines, Southwest Airlines, the entity using what are helicopters literally at 10 o'clock in the morning. This is the same exact crime scene. All right, that's the P.O.C. This is what you need to be aware of. This is what an entity does because they're scared. Okay, this fluffy demon needs to be running and stalking a treadmill. She's another one. You need to be stalking an aerobics course, not stalking me. Okay, and because you're angry and you're scared that you're being prosecuted, now you're going to prison. That's no excuse, and this is what you're going to learn with regard to engaging in terrorism. With the homosexuals who are severely mentally putting you away, is there a reasonable question to doubt that that third party is gang stalking me? No, there is not. There is her co-defendant, and they are going to prison. They're going to federal prison, and so is Carlos. That's P.O.C. License plate 9XTV636. This little shorty doo-wop is gang stalking under the fake sun. Okay? Breast and all. You see that cleavage? He's monitoring. That's the P.O.C. It is currently 5:41 p.m. El Pollo Loco engaged in harassment under the light source in concert with the entity. Okay? These are the failed rituals. And this is a humiliation ritual for the demons that are engaged in vagina monitoring, sex trafficking, kidnapping, theft. When they're the brokies that steal from children. And then when that child grows up and prosecutes you, you can't stand the pressure. You're going to prison and you're going to deal with it there. 7DXL902, this is P.O.C. All right, they just spoke as an entity. And the ones that are speaking, grabbing my phone, that male and that fluffy female, those two are going to prison. So is Carlos. He's harassing and doing so very boldly. Okay, because he thinks the pattern of conduct ends there. It doesn't. And I have the pleasure of I'll attach that video because Carlos is going to prison. This is P.O.C. All right, Southwest Airlines is coming from Terminal 4, and this demon of the Ontario Police at the 1 p.m., 2 p.m. hour, while the fake sun was over me at the Ontario OVITT Family Community Library, Southwest Airlines is stalking, hovering over, and coming from the same terminal where I'm on HOLT Boulevard, and that is at C Street and Lemon, where the entity is gang stalking, where Southwest Airlines is still have not conducted. I'm showing you this is an entity that is doing so under the fake sun that's over me at this same dentist's office, okay, during the 7 a.m. hour. And the demons are stalking with impossible light, HR 807 handicap. And this entire entity, don't forget National Guard, Safeguard on Demand. He's going to put gang stalking with the Ontario Police that you see gang stalking me today under the fake sun with Southwest Airlines that is associated with Terminal 4. Okay, Terminal 4 is not hovering over on HOLT Boulevard, and it's also not hovering and engaging in what is an actual flight to any destination with any passengers on that plane, while the military are stalking me via Southwest Airlines with Ontario Police at the OVITT Family Community Library. This is the same airline that is stalking me along San Antonio in the morning, where this fake sun is also over me. It's currently 5:48 p.m., where the entity just engaged in harassment inside of El Pollo Loco because all of these kidnappers who are sex offenders engaged in surveillance sitting in this car stalking. Okay, this is the King's Inc., where I've heavily documented, the dentist's office heavily documented, where the fake sun is rising over here on my side, on my, my east side. Here's the fake sun on the west side, where Southwest Airlines is stalking. And the entity is engaged in this pattern of conduct as an entity, while the entity is following with aerial surveillance. The people of the state are the demons engaging in that surveillance with them. Engaging what is harassment. All right, doing so while you're on top of that, while you're fluffy. Engaging in what is trying to add to me taking a picture to your license plate, saying, oh, you touched my car while you were taking a picture of my license plate. They're gang stalkers that are under the fake sun. Stalking with the ignoramuses that are using the Terminal 4 Southwest Airline planes that are not taking off and flying miles away from the airport, hovering over the Ontario Village Shopping Center at the same location where I'm present at sunrise is occurring at the Ontario Village Shopping Center, nor is it taking off or headed to a destination, where the Ontario Police are stalking on video this afternoon as well, earlier, and doing so while they are lying about criminal summoning. That's not why they were there. They were stalking me with Southwest Airlines and stalking me with the commercial airline planes, engaging in monitoring. Because the Ontario Police are engaged in trafficking children. They're engaged in the conspiracy to murder. They're engaged in criminal monitoring with the U.S. military. This is P.O.C. And this is impossible light activity under that which is not even the sun, okay? Not the product of sunlight. This is occurring by vehicles that are at a distance and this demon that's opening and closed. That's why they're present in the environment, to monitor you. This is P.O.C. This is Southwest Airlines is being criminally and civilly prosecuted under the 5:50 p.m. fake sun. And everybody inside of Stater Brothers, they're not the only one, but everybody in Stater Brothers is going to prison. This is the criminal conduct that they're engaged in the grocery store. They're stalking me inside of the store, following me around aisle to aisle, stalking in impossible light activity, monitoring my vagina. And the demons go into the grocery store to engage in this very obsessive stalking. Okay, that's P.O.C. And they do so under the guise of engaging in grocery shopping. Yeah, like the Ontario Police are there engaging in law enforcement under the fake sun. They're all engaging in what is the pattern of conduct. P.O.C. Alrighty, this is the entity that is again for the third time I'm capturing stalking by helicopter, flying in circles over downtown Ontario luxury apartments. And so this is what you're looking at, public corruption. This is psychopathic pacing, and it's under the guise of concert night. Well, the city of Ontario are demons engaged in surveillance of the children that they kidnap as a nation and keep them under surveillance, stalking by helicopter like nothing is happening. All under the fake sun where I was this morning, like nothing is happening, where the entity was stalking, doing U-turns over the Ontario Town Square, where the impossible light was inside of the parking garage, where the fake sun was rising. Remember that? This is the same apartment complex, 320 North Euclid Avenue. The entity flying in circles, where the government is flying over that apartment complex. That apartment complex is a corporate entity, and they're going to be federally prosecuted. It's RICO. These establishments are engaging in surveillance. This is the same OVITT Family Community Library. The sun is not both rising, and then you're looking at the same sunlight that's on the building. It's after 5 o'clock, and it's 6:29, where demons are engaged in psychopathic pacing. And I documented license plates. She's opening her car door, getting in the vehicle, and engineer light that's just on the sidewalk out of nowhere while the entity's flying over the building. This is as direct as you're going to get regarding evidence. And this is actually P.O.C. regarding prison. 8YKF122. License 7ZOK073. And this is the impossible light activity where the U.S. military is keeping American citizens under surveillance. Impossible light activity, the same library where the fake sun is over it, where the entity is gang stalking me as I leave this venue and walk to Upland, California, as I was inside of this parking garage this morning, and a bunch of demons engaging in surveillance inside of this building where the entity is flying in circles above it, just like they are, by the way, at every gang stalking church. P.O.C. license 82413 Mary 1, 9XVB522, 8YTL170. The employees inside of the OVITT Family Community Library are going to federal prison. 9SEJ254, 8PX8602, 7XES318. And they're engaged in surveillance. This is the surveillance system that the U.S. military has made. The U.S. military are full of pedophiles that engage in what is also homosexuality pursuant to mental illness. They practice witchcraft and they engage in gay sex in order to do so. And what it's resulted in is HIV infection. And also you're looking at them in denial with regard to the fact that they're exposed as terrorists who kidnap children across the world and bring them back to California, bring them back to the United States. This is what Tracy Banks did, stealing my identity. All right, I'm going to keep repeating this because this is relevant to the gang stalking that I'm subject to, and gang stalking will never prove that you have not stolen my identity or prove that you have not engaged in stealing my money, my wealth, prove that you have not stolen what is money and assets that does not belong to you. It does not disprove any of that. It shows you why they're doing it. While they're under what is a fake sun, does that change? While they are gang stalking by helicopter, in fact, it's giving you context as to why they are kidnapping children, having sex with those children, trafficking those children, lying about the identity of those children, and stealing the identity of those children. This is what Tracy Banks has done. And this Tracy Banks is doing it with the people of the state. Tracy Banks is the entity. And I want to be clear, right here at the Civic Center where they're gang stalking, the same OVITT Family Community Library, this is Southwest Airlines and Ontario Police Vehicle 1119 while they were gang stalking me, surrounding me on both sides of my person and in front while I was at the OVITT Family Community. This is where the entity is claiming that criminal summoning, equally criminal, is the reason why he was in my presence, engaging in what is psychopathic pacing with Southwest Airlines and the entity that was stalking by flying over where there are no flights, where you still have not conducted a takeoff, where I'm west of this location and they still hadn't conducted a takeoff at El Pollo Loco, where they're engaging in harassment because they're proven terrorists that give birth to kids while they kidnap them and also sex traffic them. While you are stalking as a gang stalking family, a demon-possessed entity that's engaging in surveillance as a surveillance society while the demons are literally flying a helicopter right now. And take a picture because you're going to juxtapose that. They're all demons. They're maintaining activity. This is the significance of the fake sun. Wells Fargo, all the businesses at the City of Ontario, this is the prosecution of Napoleon. All right, through what is public corruption. You okay in that? You see what's in her hand? Got that communication device, all right? That's the focal point. Entity that's engaged in the P.O.C. These are means of what is public corruption, gang stalking me. This is the whole point of what an entity is doing in the United States while a fake sun is remaining over you, while a demon like the one operating vehicle 1119 at this same venue. All right, you're talking about 3-4 hours ago, and here's the fake sun. This is where it was at this morning. What was the sunlight that was on the inside of that parking lot? He's going to prison, okay? And that department's being disbanded. And that department is stalking me 24 hours a day while pursuant to a surveillance system which the people of the state, a bunch of vagina monitors stalking on the roads and the highways, are maintaining together. And the stalking by helicopter is speaking to Paul Leon's going to prison, okay? This massive public corruption, all these people, the mayor's going to federal prison. The Ontario City Council, they're being prosecuted as what is domestic terrorists. The demons that are over the Ontario Airport Board, the demons that are calling themselves an executive team over the airport, they're being federally prosecuted as terrorists, and they're going to lose that case. I'm prosecuting. They're going to prison while the entity is stalking me with helicopters. This is massive public corruption. This is what's supposed to cause you to want to kill yourself. Everybody's stalking you. They're psychologically torturing you because they're not looking at you, but you're paying attention, and you're being gang stalked. You're being monitored. You're being emotionally tormented. And this is what an entity does while they are stalking you, and they don't have evidence. The ordinary target individual has no evidence. While they're talking about, oh, the people of the state, they don't look at you, they don't talk to you, but they're mysteriously calling the police on you. All right? That's the P.O.C. That's the P.O.C. They're going to, Paul Leon, the Ontario City Council, those demons are going to prison. I have what is the 66 car show, the food festival, the Christmas festival. While the entities engaging in this P.O.C., the gang stalking city council is going to be federally prosecuted for what is time in prison. Public corruption at this size with regard to this prolonged period of time with the U.S. military that's exhibiting severe ability, stalking, engaging in psychopathic pacing. This is literally the pattern of conduct, and this is what an entity is doing. Follow me all around. They follow me to the laundromat. Okay, this is an employee at OVITT. She's going to prison. Okay, that's the P.O.C. right in there. It has been gang stalking and monitoring my vagina for years. She's going to prison. Her and her boss, Sean Thrasher. This is P.O.C. It is currently 6:34 p.m. We're 12 hours earlier. The fake sun is over me at this same library. Okay, the employees at that venue are going to prison, and the demons of the city of Ontario, the one that is funding terrorism, the demons that are gang stalking and harassing with the city of Ontario employees, watering the plants under the fake sun at 9:47 in the morning. That fake sun where you're conspicuously stalking under the guises. I'm going to stalk you by watering the bushes right next to you. Those demons, those are the ones that are being removed from their position. They're being federally prosecuted, and they're being committed. That's Union Pacific, that's gang stalking with the state of California. This is the pattern of conduct. This is P.O.C. It is currently 6:35 p.m. under the 12-hour enduring fake sun. 12 hours. Everybody I documented today in a police vehicle is going to prison. All right? All the commercial airline company, that industry is being federally prosecuted. Okay? The entity that's engaged in this P.O.C. is doing so with regard to what are demons. This is a system. They kidnap children and they try to steal their destiny, steal their money, steal their identity. And some of them even become celebrities off of it. They sing songs that's not about them. It's about my life while they're monitoring me. All right? This is the P.O.C. There is a tremendous consequence for what they've engaged in, and it starts with this prosecution. And it's going to be followed with what is being impoverished. All right? This is the P.O.C. It is currently 6:36 p.m.